Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
That fantasy girl you see on the posters, she did go over the balcony. And the real podcast got pulled back up. I realize I should have done a British accent. I fucked that up. I didn't do a British accent.
You could try again if you want. I don't know.
I don't know if I should. I don't know if it'd get any better.
You don't think you could summon Brixton on this podcast today? The spirit of Brixton.
Let me try it. Ready?
Sure.
You reckon that fancy girl you see on the posters? Should they go over the balcony? Innit?
No.
And the real Nanny Jane
Oh boy.
got pulled back up.
Ayo, can you do an English accent? No such thing as a British accent.
Okay, wait.
I'm just wondering.
That accent you saw go over the balcony. That one. That was the fake one. And the real one got pulled up just right now. It's a little... I don't really know exactly where it is. I don't know where I'm from, but...
Fuck.
You sound like a South Londoner. You sound all right. You sound...
I think... Try to channel a few cousins I've met twice in my life. You feel me?
You got some British cousins?
I've got some British cousins. South London.
Like cousins
South
who
London?
grew up in the United Kingdom? That's wild.
They grew up in the UK, and I've also got cousins who grew up in Ireland. And you're going to call me a liar, but it's true. Yeah, I've got German cousins as well.
I'm doing no such thing. I believe you. I take you at your word.
Okay, well, how about this? I've got cousins who were born and raised in Italy. Now they live in the US.
That's cool as well.
Now you shut the fuck
born
up.
And raised.
You shut the fuck up. I don't believe that for a
Me?
second. I want you to... No, Ayo,
Okay.
I don't believe that for a second. You push this bit too hard.
Wow. Okay.
I question your integrity.
Yeah, no, I believe that's fine. That's good. Thank you.
Do you know where in South London they're from, your cousins?
Someplace near Brixton. I remember they said, and I was like, oh, is that? And she's like, it's like 15 minutes outside Brixton. And I went, okay.
Sure. Cool.
We met at a Nando's. True story.
Whoa.
Cheeky.
My
Sorry.
favorite.
Cheeky.
My favorite chain restaurant.
So good.
Yes, it's the best chain restaurant that exists, I think.
Yes, across the globe.
Yep.
David has been angling to do Nando's on Doughboys for a long time.
I mean, by angling, you mean like quietly and not telling anyone. Like just quietly thinking that I would love to do that.
Well, now this is the angle. The angle begins now.
Right, because my campaign was to get on Doughboys to do Costco. It took 4 years. I finally did it. So now we have to launch your campaign, David.
Yeah, great. David
wants
for
to do
Nando's. Let's just, let's knock out that coronavirus. Let's, set up a trip to D.C. or something. I believe there's Nando's in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. So, let's do it.
Let's go. David, do you want to take a trip? Okay, actually, well, neither of us are in the same place, but let's take a trip. I'll meet you in D.C. Mm-hmm. Olivia can show us around.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, Olivia's from D.C. Yeah, of course.
Even when she's not here, she's here.
Olivia, she's so inside the Beltway.
Well, let's say this.
That's true. Yeah.
Look, there are two things we like to do on this show.
Inside the Beltway. Okay, never mind. Sorry. There was a lag. Whoops.
No, I want to hear. I
was going to say she's inside the Beltway and beyond the lights.
Oh, all right.
See, worth it to go back because now it's a smooth transition. Ladies and gentlemen,
podcast too.
Non-binary people, this is a podcast called Blank Check, and it's about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want, and sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they go beyond the lights. And we are talking about the films of Gina Prince Bythewood. We've gotten to what I contend is her masterpiece, although she arguably has a couple within a very short filmography. It is called Beyond the Lights, as we've now said 3 times in the last minute. This is Pod Basket Cast. And our special guest today, what I was going to say is, we love doing crossover eps with other podcasts, and we love individually collecting the hosts of other podcasts. we kind of did it backwards of how we'll often do it sometimes. So you might have heard our guest on this show previously, on our Rachel Getting Married episode, but now she's riding solo, baby.
I'm riding solo. I'm at the BET Awards in my purple wig.
Riding solo. You don't need Machine Gun Kelly anymore.
I don't know. I miss her.
Oh,
I miss her.
That's sweet.
Olivia will be back.
I know.
Just
Olivia on the books for a future episode.
She's in the spreadsheet.
But our guest today.
She's a hot commodity, that Olivia.
Of course.
Yes. We couldn't book her for like 6 more months.
Yeah, no, she wouldn't give me the time of day.
Yeah.
Well, she's filming a Marvel movie. I mean,
we can't talk. We can't talk about it.
Untitled Atlanta Event Project.
But our guest.
Our guest today is one half of the Iconography podcast and also, of course, the showrunner of the Kominsky Method. Ladies and gentlemen, Ayo Edebiri, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
So you were just sitting there one day and
the
just
Kominsky,
like, yeah, what if there was a Kominsky method? Is that how it all started? You were just sort of looking out the window?
Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to say one thing that is it's Edebiri.
Fuck.
It's okay. It's okay. Listen, it's the same thing, right? It's like if you are going to learn how to pronounce Kominsky, you're going to learn how to pronounce Edebiri. Sort of that.
And let me say, I got Kominsky wrong several times. It took a long time for me to learn that
We practiced it before the pod, so I'm glad you got 1 out of 2.
Ayo Edebiri, showrunner of the Kominsky Method. Fuck, see, I went back. I went back.
Well, it was a project that it definitely, I would say, is one of my bigger passion projects. And the work that I've always sought to do in this industry, which is making space for those who do not have space being made for them, right? And
yes.
You know, I've worked
the Kominskys of the world.
Thank you. And I've worked a long time and was sort of inspired by my own experiences as a famous actor, as a famous director, as a famous showrunner. Taking all of these experiences that I'm collecting amongst my friends, and I'm saying, who looks like us, who sounds like us, who talks like us, who's in the world, what's funny? First of all, because that's the other thing about comedy today, right? You're getting all these rabble rousers involved, and I'm going, yeah, but I'm not laughing. I go to a diner with my good buddies, Alan Arkin and Michael Douglas. I believe. Yep, it's Alan Arkin and Michael Douglas.
You nailed the stars of your show. Yes, that's
100%, 2 out of 2.
Good. And we're all ordering eggs, laughing. So many eggs we're ordering.
Right, like the waitress comes and she's like, and for you, eggs, and for you, eggs, and for you, eggs, like just going around.
We're getting hard-boiled, soft-boiled, scrambled, fried, over easy, sunny side. Everybody's getting different types of eggs. And I'm going, wait a minute. I'm laughing. I have to write this. I have a duty to write this.
Did you have one of those moments where you almost sat back and you went like, this could be a show? Like just this, what we're saying right now, like the way we're talking, this could be the show. I'm
going to be honest with you. I thought it was a movie at first. Then I wrote the movie and I said, wait a minute. I'm writing about 10, 12 movies a season. That's a TV show. So I condensed.
It's a 10-hour movie. Yes.
I condensed.
You condensed and expanded at the same time.
And for the better, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all the richer for it.
Just full disclosure, as CEO of Quibi, I did try and poach the Kominsky Method, but Ayo turned me down.
I will say, you offered more money.
I offered a lot. I offered what I consider crazy money.
Yeah. Definitely not a Quibi of money, you know what I'm saying.
No. That was a long chew.
Yeah, that check was a large bite.
Okay, and more on that. But it's about integrity for me. I'd say it's about artistic integrity. And the place that had the most artistic integrity for sure was absolutely Netflix HQ, was the place where me and my my community, I'd say, could make the show that spoke to us and for us. And, you know, obviously now with COVID-19, everything is really crazy, but we are a very tight-knit cast and crew, and we were able to quarantine in the nursing home where all of the writers and producers already live.
You made a bubble.
Together.
Right. Nice. I see what you did.
We made a bubble, and
a Kominsky bubble.
Thank you. And we Kominsky'd, let's just say, and finished the third season. Really happy.
No other word for it. What you guys are doing.
And honestly, thank you for your service and for pushing through and getting that third season finished.
And worth it, I'd say. The result, I mean, it shows itself. It's a perfect show that many people watch, and I know many people have opinions on as well, and all different types of people as well.
Well, okay, so that's the end of our traditional opening segment on the podcast, the Kominsky breakdown.
Thank you.
So now,
and for once, relevant. Usually, we're just pushing that subject on our guests.
Glad I could be here, honestly. Yeah.
Really good timing.
Now, let's try and transition into a discussion of this filmmaker and the film she made.
So Ayo, what's your relationship to Gina Prince Bythewood's films in general, and this one in particular?
Well, first of all, I love her. I owe her my life. Just like one of the, I don't know, she's just somebody who I always knew I looked up to, if that makes sense. And I feel like she's been in my world for so long and just was always a name that I knew and a face that I knew. And more and more, but especially in this moment where I feel like a lot of people are like learning things and like learning actors. And I'm like, I've known this, and directors as well. Like, I've known this person my whole life, even when I didn't realize it. But Love and Basketball is obviously like iconic, imprinted on my psyche in the foreground and the background. And The Secret Life of Bees was on many a Saturday when my mother was doing my hair and I had to be like in front of the like TV or the weird kitchen DVD player that we had that was really high up, so we couldn't change any of the movies. So we would sometimes watch the same movie for many months.
So Bees was in the rotation on the kitchen DVD.
Bees was
Couple
one of
Real
them.
kitchen DVD movie. I could see
is.
that.
You had a B season. You had a B season.
And that's and that's the word on that. Bees, Hilary Duff's A Cinderella Story, Brandy's Cinderella.
Of course.
There's another one that I just Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Tyler Perry, obviously.
The original.
Obviously, yes. Right? Oh, yeah, of course. Well, we were watching the plays in our house.
Sure.
But when Beyond the Lights came out, I remember watching it the year it came out and being so into it and so obsessed with Gugu Mbatha-Raw.
Mm-hmm.
And being like, okay, I'm ready for everybody to know she's a superstar. And then I was like, wait a minute. Why isn't everybody not obsessed with the only perfect woman who's ever been born?
Agree. It's we're now what, 6 years on from
this
Beyond
movie's
the Lights?
2014, fall 2014.
And like, she's still not a superstar. Obviously, she works. She's like in stuff all the time. She's in the morning show now, right?
I mean, which is like, to me, wrong.
Incorrect.
Because it's a competitor to Kominsky. I get that.
Thank you. And it shouldn't exist. Kominsky only on TV.
No, but right, you're right. Like, she's like the sixth lead on the morning show.
No, she
right. Yeah.
She needs to be the lead in her own show. She's so fantastic. Have you guys seen Fast Color?
Yes, I saw Fast Color.
Yes,
yeah,
phenomenal.
Fast Color was great.
So like, what's going on?
Yeah, I guess that's the only other starring role she's really. I guess
Belle
Belle was
kind
the
of
same year as this. Belle was earlier this year.
Belle was the year before.
Really?
Yeah, well, I think, whatever. It was at festivals the year before. I think it came out 2014. I think you're right. And then since then, I mean, I think, what's it called? The Cloverfield Paradox. I know everyone's agreed to forget that happened, but she was sort of a co-lead of that, right? Like, she was kind of a lead.
That's sort of the fundamental paradox of that movie. It exists and it doesn't at all at the same time.
Like, if I told you there was a sci-fi space station movie with Gugu Mbatha-Raw, David Oyelowo, Daniel Bruhl, Elizabeth Debicki, like, that sounds great.
Fucked. It's so fucked that it's not good.
Fundamentally,
it's the widows of Cloverfield movies.
Well, wait, is that an insult to widows? Because I can't handle that. That's gonna mess me up.
Okay,
come on, let's just get into it. Whatever this is, let's just deal with it right now.
I loved Widows. I saw Widows 3 times in theaters. I loved Widows. I tried to fight for Widows, and nobody believed me. I saw it at a weird premiere. I saw it with friends, and I saw it with my dad, and nobody believed me. And that was what was so hard about Widows. I just feel like Widows deserve more. Widows isn't flawless, you know what I mean? But neither is Love. You feel me?
Do you know who stand for Widows? David Lawrence Sims' #1 film of that year on this podcast.
Well, that's why you're my king, David. That's why you're a king. That's king shit.
Right. That was a king move of mine. And you're one of my biggest reply guys on Twitter, Ayo. We have a great back and forth.
Thank you.
In the marketplace of ideas. No, Widows is the best. But I know what you mean. It was a similar thing where it was like when I saw Widows at Toronto, I walked out of there and I was like, this thing, holy shit! Like, you know, people are gonna go. Why? Like, this is the kind of like it's gonna get the raves. It's gonna get the box office. Like, and then it like did okay.
That was the thing. It felt like a rare movie that was going to be able to play both lanes equally well. Like it was going to make $100 million and it was going to get nominated in most major categories.
But like there's Beyond the Lights. I mean, you know, that's sort of the story with that movie too, right? I mean, I don't think I thought it was going to make $100 million, but it was one of those like, why aren't people talking about this more? It's right here for everybody.
Well, okay, sorry to go back to Widows, but I think maybe it was a situation. Well, one, okay, let's talk about the way that we don't give money to, Black people or promoting their movies that are good. Get into that. But I think another thing, honestly, was like promotion.
Yeah, it was. They didn't know how to sell it.
Horribly marketed.
Yeah. And it was really badly marketed. And like the original poster is like this beautiful sort of like artsy. Like, oh, this is what it is. We're doing like in between cursive and like classic typeface, like title, all lowercase.
It's black and white, them on the beach.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is nice. This is what the movie is. And then most of the theatrical posters are like really cheesy, Hallmark movie-esque, like bad.
The DVD cover is like her
abysmal.
It's
with
bad.
Purple hair,
abolish that.
Smiling with the sunglasses.
The sunglasses are purple. Like
it's so bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad. It's like every single piece of key art they did for this movie is bad in a different way.
It's so crazy.
I was a big Love and Basketball fan. I had skipped Secret Life of Bees in theaters. This had been like, you know, there's a large gap between Love and Basketball and Secret Life of Bees, a slightly shorter gap here, but she hadn't made a movie in a number of years. And then this marketing was so bad. I remember never seeing a trailer, never seeing a TV ad, only seeing a lot of bus ads and like posters. And the posters were so bad. I was like, is this some like Nicholas Sparks-esque thing? Like it looks so generically melodramatic romance movie rather than giving me any sense of what it was. And then I remember it was our friend of the show, Marie Barty, who, credit where credit is due, also is the one who introduced Alex Ross Perry to the podcast. This was a litigation over Twitter recently. But she was the one who, like, I remember one week showed up at the trivia night that we used to go to.
Are we celebrating that? Sorry. Let me stop.
Hey, it's Celebrate Good Times. Celebrate good times. But David and I, Ayo, for context, became friends because we both started obsessively going to a movie trivia night when we were very depressed. And that was the formation of our friendship.
Love that.
And Marie came in one week and was like, have you guys seen Beyond the Lights? And we were like, no. And she's like, it's one of the best movies of the year. It's insane. And I was like, I haven't heard anyone really talking about it at all. I assumed it was just sort of like a nothing. So then we went to see it like several days later. David and I cite it as like one of our important early friend dates before we started doing the podcast. And we were like, this is like a pivotal movie for us where we sat there watching it together, having that excitement when you're seeing a film that you've known almost nothing about. Like we really just knew people on the posters, both of whom aren't very well established at this point in time, and the director who we liked, but we didn't know what this movie was going to be. And that sense of excitement scene by scene where you're like, this is great. This is great. It's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better.
What
She's
this
sticking the
movie
landing.
is. It's one of those movies where all the scenes are good. And like, I know that sounds insanely trite, but like, that's actually kind of hard.
An early friend date that I had with another friend, we saw Maurice together. It was like when it was a what's the word? Restored. Okay,
yeah,
it
was right. It had been re-released or whatever.
And James Ivory was at the screening, and I went with a friend, and there was a Q&A, and we were like, "Holy shit, we're gonna be at a Q&A with James Ivory. Everybody's gonna ask incredible questions, forgetting that it's a Q&A, and nobody asks good questions at a Q&A. That's the whole point of a Q&A.
Has never happened. Not once.
But this woman raised her hand and went, "What made you decide to have it go from scene to scene to scene?"
Wow. Actually, a great question. Why not just not do that?
Okay. But Beyond the Lights is a movie where it goes, this goes scene to scene to scene to scene.
It really does go scene to scene to scene to scene.
To scene, it works. It works very hard and very well.
It's also another thing that's going to sound trite. Every scene works incredibly well as its own self-contained thing, and then the way those scenes build upon each other is masterful. Mm-hmm. It works in... Well, you could break this movie into quibbies, and every quibby would be good.
Oh, yeah, see.
But also, the whole is greater than the quibbies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
True. I will also say... There's montages. There's not a lot, but there's montages. And they're not annoying.
This movie gives good montage, which is a rare
there's
compliment.
a reason why they're there.
Yeah. And they're good. They hit.
Okay, we're having an epic discussion about movies.
I'm sorry. Can we pause reporting for a second? I got there's like an infestation here in my apartment. I can't see what they are. They don't look like the big giant hornets, but they don't look like regular bees. I'm sorry, this is unusual, but let me just hold up a magnifying glass quickly. Oh my God, they're moobies.
Buzz.
Now, usually the cineast cow will show up in studio, but now the moobies are showing up in my home to promote Mubi, a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe.
Buzz.
Yes, that is the buzz. Correct. The buzz is that every day Mubi premieres a new film, whether it's a timeless classic, a cult favorite, or an acclaimed masterpiece, a movie you've been dying to see, or one you've never heard of before. There's always something new to discover.
Buzz.
Correct. No, the buzz you've heard is correct. With Mubi, each and every film is hand-selected, so you'll never spend more time looking for something great to watch than actually watching something great. You know, it's like your own personal film festival, streaming anytime, anywhere.
Buzz.
Yes, no, yeah, absolutely. Seven Beauties, the Linda Wertmuller film, is currently showing on Mubi. That was the first film to net a Best Director nomination for a woman. And here we are. We're doing Gina Prince Bythewood. We're doing a female miniseries. Why don't you go through the films of Linda Wertmuller, the first person to break that glass ceiling? You got Swept Away. You got Love and Anarchy, The Seduction of Mimi. That's a nice little festival to do there, a little miniseries.
Buzz.
No, you're right. I should probably wrap up this ad. Listen, the offer is that you folks can try Mubi free for 30 days at Mubi.com/check. That's MUBI.com/check for a whole month of great cinema for free. And now, on top of the 30 days, one film new every day, one film going out the window, you got the Mubi Library. So the Mubi Library sits alongside the now showing selection, the traditional 30-film lineup. These are titles, evergreen titles, that are up for a much longer period of time. So you don't got the ticking clock on everything.
Buzz.
And you can even rent new releases like First Cow from Mubi rather than giving your money to giant evil corporations.
Buzz.
Yeah. And if you're a little bit more of a Haas hog, you can even watch The Vulgar Disruptor, a series of restored trauma films, including the Toxic Avenger franchise and Surf Nazis Must Die.
Buzz.
Wow, that was a thoughtful buzz. So once again, if you want to try Mubi free for 30 days, that's over 30 movies you get to watch at Mubi.com/check. That's all you got to do. No promo code. Just go to Mubi.com/check for a whole month of great cinema for free.
Yeah, I think we saw it at the AMC Village 7, Griffin, if you remember.
Near empty theater.
yes, we got a drink with my girlfriend afterwards and just like yelled at her about the movie.
Yeah. She was like, get a room with that movie like, you just saw.
Yeah, exactly. And Griffin was like, I tried, but David rolled his eyes.
Yeah, sighed loudly.
But like, I guess I had maybe seen, I'm trying to think of like how much I knew the people in the, obviously I had seen Love and Basketball, but like, I guess I'd seen Gugu in like some Doctor Who episodes. I think I'd seen Belle.
Had you seen Larry Crowne? Had you worn the crown yet?
You know, I've never worn the crown. I never took a ride on that scooter with Tom and Julia. You ever how else? You ever seen Larry Crowne, Ayo?
I have horrible news to report. I've never seen Larry Crowne.
That's just too damn bad. What are you gonna do?
Do you want to stop the record so you can watch it and then we can resume later?
Just with the knowledge of Larry Crowne in the background?
It couldn't hurt. A little background crown?
Doesn't she play like kind of like a cool person in Larry Crowne? She's like some kind of young
Yaya
cool person.
DaCosta and like the kids are all right, like that type of thing.
I think so.
Where it's like, she is cool and also she's black, but these things have nothing to do with each other, and that's what we believe in this movie, like that.
I think that's the case, but I regrettably inform you that I have also never worn the crown.
Wow.
Right. Because I believe the pitch of Larry Crowne is that he goes to college. He's an older man, right?
Yes. And Julia Roberts is his post-divorce teacher who's given up. It's like his whole life collapses. He loses his corporate job, and I think his wife leaves him. And he's like, I got to start over.
And Gugu Mbatha-Raw
and so he falls in love
Talia, his economics classmate, who invites him to join a club of scooter riders led by her boyfriend, Del Gordo, who is played by Wilmer Valderrama.
So wait a minute. So you're telling me Tom Hanks as Larry Crowne falls in love and eventually gets entangled with his teacher, played by Julia Roberts. Sounds like a Larry Crowne affair. You know what I'm saying?
Boy.
Yeah, I'm sick of myself. My body's a prison. I'm dying to get out.
I will say the cast of Larry Crowne is just all stars. You got Pam Grier, Cedric the Entertainer.
Can I read the billing order?
No, I'm doing it.
Well, but I want to read it on the poster. David already pretty much did it. It's just the order on the poster is insane.
Okay, what's the order on the poster, Griffin?
Hanks, Roberts, Larry Crowne, Cranston, Entertainer, P. Henson, Mbatha-Raw, Valderrama, Grier, no and.
But here's who it's not mentioning. Rami Malek, Rita Wilson, George Takei. You got Rob Riggle, not Rob Wiggle. You have Chet Hanks as pizza delivery boy.
Okay, slay. Chet Hanks involved.
Nia Vardalos, who co-wrote the movie, as a map genie, the voice of a map genie.
Randall Park is in it.
Randall
Park. When's he bad? He's always a delight.
He's always good.
So maybe we should be doing Larry Crowne, but no, we decided to pick a slightly later project for Gugu, which is Beyond the Lights.
Might never watch Larry Crowne, which is so hard to know.
It feels like you could be watching it right now and not be aware of it. It feels like one of those things.
So true. It feels like a movie when you're in a hotel in Tallahassee and you're trying to go to bed, but you can't exactly go to bed. So you turn on the TV and you flip the channel exactly 3 times, and then on the 3rd channel you decide to close your eyes and you keep watching it in between commercials for like TGI Fridays and detergent. Feels like that.
I think you nailed it. I think I only can see myself watching Larry Crowne in a hotel room. I don't even think I would choose it on an airplane, but in a hotel room, if it was on, I would sit down and watch all of it.
Those are different movies. Hotel movie and airplane movie is different movie. Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, airplane movie. I need to be engaged. Like I need to have something to pay attention to. Hotel movie, right? Yeah, I don't need anything from that.
You're trying to sleep in a hotel, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like Larry Crowne isn't a movie I've actively avoided. I always assumed I would get around to it one day, but 5 months into lockdown, I think it's become clear I'm never going to see Larry Crowne. If it was going to happen, it would have happened by now.
Here's the series I'm going to pitch for y'all to do in about 20 years.
Ooh.
Tom Hanks director.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there. You got That Thing You Do. You got Larry Crowne, which I'm not sure if we've mentioned on this podcast yet.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's come up yet. Looking for an organic opening.
You got that episode of, some episodes of like Band of Brothers, right?
Mm-hmm. Earth to the Moon.
Earth to the Moon, pretty good show.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you include TV and screenwriting, then Greyhound gets in there.
Let's toss Greyhound in there. Have you watched Greyhound, Griffin?
I've not taken the Greyhound bus.
Okay.
No.
Greyhound's A-okay.
He did the League of Their Own TV show.
Okay.
He did?
Yeah.
Like he directed
He directed.
That's
like
cool.
the 90s pilot?
Yeah.
That makes sense. He produced the movie or was in it or whatever.
He did an episode called Monkey's Curse.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Wasn't that fun?
I mean,
he's also got that Apple movie.
Yeah, Greyhound.
That's Greyhound.
Greyhound's
which
all right.
he wrote but didn't direct. Yeah.
Greyhound
okay.
is 80 minutes long.
Oh, well, that's
80.
the movie.
Yes. It's like you cue it up and it says it's 90 minutes long. You're like, 90 minutes long. It's pretty short. 10 minutes of credits. It's 80. You're basically out of there at 75.
I saw people complaining online about the recent reveal that the new Bill and Ted movie is 78 minutes long and being like, and you expect me to pay for that on VOD? I would pay double for that length. That sounds ideal. I would pay twice as much as I did for King of Staten Island to be able to watch half of that runtime.
They should break Tenet into two pieces, and it would make both pieces more alluring.
Let's stop talking around it. Tenet should be released on Quibi. Tenet should be a Quibi.
I'm trying. Chris won't return my calls.
Because he doesn't have a cell phone.
I know.
I think it's just so crazy how annoying he's being about it. Like, I feel like everybody would be like on his side if he just was like quiet about it. And he keeps, and also I saw this thing that it was like, well, it's screened privately. And it's like, yeah, of course it does. That's what most movies do. Like, just shut up.
You know what's wild about it too, Ayo?
Up.
I have the exact same takeaway, and then I step back and think about the fact that he has barely spoken publicly about it, and yet his sentiments keep on coming through in every news update. Like, it's incredible to do that few interviews and still come off as annoying. That takes skill. If he just said, like, if this was his statement, if he said, I believe in preserving the theatrical experience.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to put this movie on VOD. I will be saving this film until it is safe for theaters to reopen. Everyone would cheer him.
Yeah.
If he just said, it's undated, I will give it a date when it's ready, or I'm pushing it back a year or whatever it is. But this game.
Yeah, no, the game is bad.
Game,
He's kind of like being a fuckboy about it. It's annoying.
Absolutely.
I will say, last piece, I've tweeted the sentiment before, but I just want to have it on vocal record. Kenneth Lonergan waited 6 years for Margaret to come out. Nolan
Perfect
can
movie.
wait.
Yeah.
Wow.
Margaret only got better with time.
Yeah. We need the Margaret re-release. I gotta make my man some money.
Margaret. I don't think that's a good COVID re-release. That's sitting for a while in this same room.
Yeah. No, wow. It's not an immediate re-release. I'm working on it.
What if that was the announcement? Like, AMC is reopening mid-August with a lot of Hollywood classics. Greatest Showman, Ghostbusters, Margaret. Back on the big screen.
If I worked hard enough, people would come out. That's all I'll say on that.
Which cut?
I want directors.
You've seen both, I assume, Ayo?
Mm-hmm. I'm sick.
He did a screening at the Quad of the director's cut and was going to do a Q&A afterwards. And I was like, oh my God, director's cut is only on like standard definition DVD. This is like a rare chance to see it on a proper film print. And then it started up and they were screening the DVD. And afterwards, someone asked, they were like, is there a reason why we just watched a standard def version of the director's cut? And he was like, that's literally all that exists. It was after the movie was released in the cut I didn't approve. I, with my own money, went back and tried to re-edit it with like DV tapes I had. I don't have access to the original elements, I'm still begging someone to let me re-edit it properly.
Holy shit.
Man.
So there's fundamentally no higher quality version of that director's cut.
The whole Margaret thing is basically worth us doing a Kenneth Lonergan miniseries. I know he only directed 3 movies so far. But just
but 3
like
bangers.
that movie. Sorry?
3 absolute bangers.
Yeah, 3 bangers,
also,
absolutely.
I mean, co-wrote Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
I know. Great movie.
Which I feel like you could, if you wanted to bend the rules a little. David's face saying no.
Well, look.
We'll do Marty.
No, Scorsese doesn't really fit into our template. He doesn't really fit into the types of directors we covered.
Oh
on
yeah,
the show.
that guy's never been able to like do something absolutely wild that a studio was like, you know, looking at in horror while it was happening.
I would insist that we include The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle because we're never going to do a Des McAnuff miniseries, and Lonergan does have sole screenwriting credit on that one.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
He does. He's the only credited screenwriter of The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
There's that scene where Bullwinkle runs over Allison Janney with a car.
I just want
and then he holds her in her arms as he thinks that Bullwinkle is her daughter.
We gotta get to be on
fact
the lights.
about that
But-
movie. Okay.
Yes. No, go
Well-
ahead, Ayo, and then I'm going to read the billing order of that movie, and then we're going to talk about Beyond the Light.
Okay, well, fun fact about Rocky and Bullwinkle is I saw it once but never finished it because the CGI freaked me out so much when I was a kid that I threw up.
Wow. So it was like sensory overload. Like
Yeah,
you're like, I
found
just
the
can't.
film disgusting. I found it really disgusting and I threw up.
Here is the above the title billing order. Griffin, do you remember the billing order?
On Margaret?
No, for The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh,
De
okay.
Niro, Russo, Alexander.
And then Moose Squirrel?
Correct.
Nailed
Iconic.
Yep.
Perfect.
This summer, it's not the same old bull. That was the
Very fun.
tagline.
I was gonna say Beyond the Lights. I'm looking at Gugu's IMDb here, which launched our Larry
Well,
Crowne
now I'm sad
sidebar.
again.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The only thing I think I'd seen her in up until this point was Doctor Who, where she did a handful of episodes as the companion's sister.
That's right.
But this is sort of
Moffat's
her
sister.
breakout year. She was mostly doing TV before them, with rare exceptions, and then it's like
She
Belle
did
and
some
Beyond
theater.
the Lights.
She
Yes.
played Ophelia to Jude Law's Hamlet.
But then, talking
and then
about why she
there
didn't
was-
immediately become a movie star. What?
Well, I'm forgetting there was Undercovers.
Oh, right. Do you remember Undercovers, Ayo?
Oh, yeah,
No,
Sexpionage.
What is this?
Undercovers it was Boris Cujo and Gugu, right?
Yep.
J.J. Abrams produced Sexy Spies Show, and it was like the most hyped TV show of the fall, the most expensive show, the
J.J.
most promo,
Abrams
and everyone was like, this is going to be the
created.
biggest. He created it, and it was like his
created
first news show post-Lost, post-movie career, and he was like, I'm telling you, these are the next 2 stars. This is going to fucking blow up, and it got canceled in like half a season.
Yes.
Whoa.
But I was going to Regal Cinemas a lot in 2010, and it was like all over Regal First Look for a solid month. And there's a scene where Gugu is like, we're going to have to do some sexpionage. And Ben Schwartz, who played like the computer guy, is
No.
like, did she just say sexpionage? And I will never forget that line reading. It is in my memory forever.
I'll say this. That is why Ben Schwartz is BB-8, is because of Undercover.
Right, that's how he met J.J. Abrams.
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah,
Yes, it's 100% why. That was like his first big like TV job, and he clearly just hung on to JJ smartly.
But anyway, so
then
she'd
I'm-
been in that. So there was some
no,
acknowledgement
what I
of
was
like,
gonna
oh,
say-
this is a hot young talent. Okay, what were you going
Because
to
I have this conversation with you all the time, moving backwards 20 minutes in conversation. I always ask you, why hasn't Gugu become like a superstar yet? It felt like she was in that conversation of like, here we go, next wave. And if you look at the things she's done after this, it's like Jupiter Ascending comes out the following year, but obviously been shot a lot earlier and pushed back. She plays a fawn. It's my background image right now on Zoom. It's a small role. She crushes it. Then it's like second lead in Concussion. That in theory was a big part. That movie doesn't go anywhere, right?
What do you mean that movie does not do well? I'm Nigerian. I'm allowed to make fun of that accent.
Yeah. Please.
I'm Nigerian.
You could make fun of that for 20 minutes. I would just be
You are.
having a great time.
You're allowed to make
Tell
fun of
me
that
the
accent.
truth.
I
Tell
don't
me
think
the
we're allowed
truth.
to say anything in response to it.
You can't say anything about it.
The only cultural footprint of that movie is tell the truth. Just those three
Yes.
words. That's
Say
it.
the truth. And then Jada Pinkett Smith was like, he should have won an Oscar. You're racist. And I was like, girl.
Picture battles. Will's given some very good performances. We don't have to act like that's the one.
Right.
We don't have
True.
to say, right, that's the one was slept on. No, dude's in good standing.
I do remember seeing like a preview for it when I was with my dad, also iconic Nigerian man, and we laughed. But both of us were like, oh, we like her.
Gugu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
But then you look at like other sort of failed Oscar-y things. She's in Free State of Jones, right?
Yep.
Oh,
She's in Miss Sloane. Like
Miss
this is a
Sloane.
lot of like big Oscar-y people. She's playing like second or third lead. The movie doesn't go anywhere. We of course forget that she played Plumette.
The Feather Duster.
Duster.
I didn't forget.
The Feather Duster and Beauty and the Beast.
I remember.
Never forget.
Cloverfield Paradox. She's the mom in Wrinkle in Time. And then, as you said, Ayo, Fast Color is like her only other real proper sort of leading role.
She's excellent in that movie. It's like a small movie, but it's very like focused. It's her and Lorraine Toussaint are both like fantastic.
Phenomenal.
It's not boring. Yeah, I don't like, it's like a good small scale sort of superhero-y movie that's actually about, mothers and daughters and like all kinds of stuff.
But the movie
right?
barely gets seen, and now it barely got released, and then like the weekend it was released was announced that it was going to get turned into a TV show with someone else. I don't know if that's still happening, but it was very much treated as if like, oh, this is a good piece of IP to now inspire a streaming show.
Stinks.
Yeah.
Well,
and
what are you gonna do?
and then the only other thing really of note is Motherless Brooklyn.
And we don't have to talk about that.
I mean, she's in it. That's about all I got.
She shows up and does the work every time. But you look at her career since Beyond the Lights, and there's a lot of like on paper good prestige projects that just do not pan out. And then the other thing, whenever I bring up to you, David, like, why hasn't she popped? You're like, it's the stupid reason, which is she hasn't been in a Marvel and she hasn't been in a Star Wars.
Right.
And it's like the only fucking thing that moves the needle these days. And she constantly will get batted around for these things. I believe she was at one point very rumored to play one of the two female leads in Last Jedi. I think it's the role that maybe ended up being Laura Dern was supposed to be younger originally.
Okay.
Sure.
And then was talked about for the Amelia Clarke role in Solo, where every other person who screen tested was a woman of color, and then they cast Amelia Clarke. They cast another British brunette lady.
I support that.
Great decision.
She was right for the role.
For the role of
Woman of color. Who would ultimately be played by a white woman.
Kira, what's her name?
Yeah.
She's apparently in Loki. She's going to be in Loki.
That's what I was going to say. So she's in the Loki show that started filming before this, and who knows when it ever resumes. But it feels like as much as she tried to, not that she tried to bypass it, she did test for all these things.
Yeah. She's going to be in that movie that I don't even know when it's going to come out. Maybe it did already come. Maybe it came. Oh, I think it came out right before COVID or something. Misbehavior with a U. With Keira Knightley, but I don't know if she's actually the lead in it, or if Keira Knightley's the lead, or if Keira Knightley just have first billing, because it's supposed to be about the first
Miss World
winner of Miss
first
World.
Black Miss World. Yes.
So you would go, oh, this is a movie about Black people, and every single other person in the movie is white, but whatever.
Keira Knight, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Jessie Buckley,
My
Keely
girl,
Hawes,
Leslie Manville.
Risa Fens, Greg Kinnear with a false nose.
Kinnear playing Bob Hope.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That sounds good. It does look like it came out in the UK right before COVID.
Yeah.
The other one, she has that movie Summerland with Gemma Arterton, which just came out on VOD.
Yeah, I have heard
that not great?
pretty mixed buzz on that one. I mean, whatever. And it's the thing. It's I understand the project she picks or whatever or gets, but
here's
she
what
has not had that big breakout since.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I think it's like, okay, here's my tea. Yes, she hasn't had Marvel or Star Wars, but also she's in the hard part of being like beautiful, young, Black, light-skinned woman, which is like a very particular pocket of Black actresses, and I think a lot of like yes, there's like the success of that if you're willing to be like very hot, sexy, or if you're a Black woman and then it's like, oh, we don't actually find you like sexually attractive or viable. You're like Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer to us. Like we're always gonna see you as like hardworking, tough, sort of intense, and we're gonna like to your face tell you like, oh no, we totally respect you and like find you beautiful. We're saying beautiful. We keep saying beautiful. Sort of thing. And I think she's just like in sort of a tricky spot. But people know that she's talented because even like San Junipero was like, okay, so finally
that's right.
we're
That's the one thing we forgot to mention, San Junipero, which she's great in.
That's, I mean, her two biggest things, even if like Morning Show doesn't necessarily do her totally right, Morning Show and San Junipero are inarguably the two biggest things she's done since this movie. They're the two that have had any sort of impact at large.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And now she's doing another streaming show that's a Marvel, and hopefully that's the thing that finally makes people recognize her. But I do think you're right. I feel like you look at those career choices and they feel like someone trying to circumvent the traps that you're describing, Ayo. And perhaps she has not found a way to circumvent those and also be in a good project with a good role. But she's trying.
She's trying.
Anyway, let's talk
about the
Beyond
actual
the Lights,
movie.
The movie we're here to talk about, starring Gugu Mbatha-Raw, also starring Minnie Driver, starring Nate Parker.
Danny Glover.
Who else is Danny Glover.
As Nate
and
Parker's
Machine Gun
dad.
Kelly, of course.
Of course, starring.
Yeah.
As Kid Culprit, but essentially
As
his
Kid
son.
Culprit. We love him.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't he billed as Coulson?
Coulson,
Baker.
Quotes, MGK Baker.
So fucked.
I will say, though, as the transition from general Gugu talk into this movie talk, this film was set up at Sony. Sony bought the script. They were committed to making it at a reasonable budget for an adult drama, as much of a budget as that kind of movie gets these days. She starts auditioning. She sees Gugu. She says, "This is my actress." Sony says, "We will not make that movie with someone this unknown." And Gina,
who did they want?
I don't know who they wanted.
Amelia
I never
Clarke.
saw that. I will say I saw two things. Which were, one, she said that they constantly push back on the idea of both leads being Black. They said she could have one or the other.
Well, that was my
Jesus.
fault. I was working at Sony at the time. And I just felt like, I need to say something. And that's, here's the thing. You learn, you grow. Obviously, if you look at things in hindsight and David's really upset, obviously, about my tenure at Sony.
Well, yes, no. And you had to deal with the fallout when your emails got hacked and everyone read your entire.
I had a lot of mistakes around that period of time. I had a problem.
You were part of the Sony hack.
I had a problem.
Yeah.
I was drinking a lot. I was acting up. I was acting
Sending
a fool
wild
in the
emails to
office.
Gina Prince Byfoot.
I was sending mean emails to Gina. And obviously now, as you know, I'm trying to get my career started. I look back at that. I apologize. It wasn't necessarily right of me. And obviously, hope I'm looking forward to making amends in this business. And obviously having two Black leads is definitely something that I think now I am more open to considering in a film.
It's clean and rad and powerful,
Thank you.
to quote the Sony hacks.
Who are the two names you had heard, Griffin?
I don't know if I saw names. I just saw that they said, like, A, at least one of them needs to be a star, and B, can you please have one of them be white?
Right, because
I think she was carrying Nate Parker with her in the back pocket, having worked with him on Secret Life of Bees. I think she thought she wanted him. Then she started seeing people, saw Gugu, latched onto it. Sony said no, and she said, okay. They gave her back the movie, and she committed for another 2 to 3 years trying to set the movie up somewhere else with Gugu attached. She was very adamant, I am not making this movie without you.
I think for the Gugu part, they wanted Rihanna or Beyonce.
I mean, I could see
Makes
them being like, can't we
sense.
cast an actual pop star?
Yeah, and
right?
then get
who's
a nice
super
little
famous.
white boy to help out in the end.
They wanted.
And
They
Justin
literally. They just
They wanted
wanted to
Beyonce
do
and Justin
the
Long.
bodyguard.
Yes, they wanted the bodyguard.
Yes.
Yeah, they just were like, wait, this looks like the bodyguard to us. Let's just do the bodyguard. Much like, A Star Is Born. They're like, well, we have the template. Let's just do A Star Is Born.
And it's like, can't you see that it would be so much more interesting if it wasn't just the bodyguard again? Can't you see why?
Yeah.
That could be good.
But you have to imagine that's why Sony latched onto it, was like, oh, if we cast a pop star, then the movie becomes, is this autobiographical? Is it about her commenting on? Whereas when you cast an actress to deliver a fucking perfect performance, you focus on the actual story that's being told rather than trying to map it onto that actress's career.
Right.
But another little decision was like the character was written to be American, and a thing I gripe about all the time, Gina was like, can you try doing it in your natural accent? She does the accent. She goes, yeah, that's great. I'll just rewrite the character to make it British.
That's why you and Samuel L. Jackson are feuding.
Oh, wait, I'm feuding with Samuel. Oh, but wait, no, I'm sorry.
That's why Griffin is feuding with Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson classically believes that British black actors are stealing black American actors.
Oh, sure.
Roles.
Yes. Yeah.
And to which I say, you're not going to get that opinion on this pod. Head on over to Iconography if you want the tea on that. Sorry.
You have to set in a few little, back doors, little spin-off moments.
I'm not posting as much as I could or should, so I got to do the ads where I can. You know what I mean?
Leave some breadcrumbs. Leave some breadcrumbs, yeah.
A little Easter egg for the folks.
I remember when I tried to get people to see this movie when it was still in theaters, I'd go
Came
like,
out
let me tell you how...
November of 2014.
Yeah.
So you and David wrapped in your scarves, your nose is all red. All red, like that's what happens to
our pockets
white
full of
people.
Cinnamon sticks.
Yes, and you've got your little knit beanies on that you knit for each other. Breath fogging anxiously as you wait for each other. iPhone 2s blinking, about to die. Oh, will he show up? Will I see him? Will happen?
I miss my iPhone 2.
Carolers outside as we blow on our hands and approach the ticket taker booth.
Thanksgiving carolers, of course.
Give them 6 pence for one ticket.
Prancing down the cobblestones.
Yes.
Saying hello to the projector man as he stretches his arms, ready to crank for a solid, 116 minutes or something.
The projector man, he had like a little candle on a metal dish, and he opened the window and he said, You two trivia nerds down there, what day is it?
What day is it, sir?
So we're like November, I think it's like November 29th or something like that.
November 29th or something like that. It's me, either Griffin or David.
Works for either of us. But I just remember telling people when it was in theaters and I was trying to convince them to go see it, like, because people hadn't even heard of it, or if they'd seen the posters like me, they didn't even know what it was about. And I was like, let me tell you how this film opens. And then I'd start telling them, and they'd go like, wait, don't tell me the whole movie. And I'd go, no, that's just the first 10 minutes. Like, this movie has such an engaging opening 10 minutes that just totally hook you in terms of just like what dramatic incidents to open on. The cold open is the scene with Minnie Driver driving her young daughter through the streets of London late at night, looking for a black hairdresser that is open late because her daughter is going to do her first talent show the next day, and she doesn't know how to tend to her daughter's hair. And she gets there just as they're closing up shop, and she pleads with the woman desperately to show them a kindness. Now, Gina has said she was adopted by wealthy white parents in Southern California, grew up not knowing her birth mother until her 20s, spent thousands of dollars over years hiring private investigators to try to find her birth mother. Never could find her. Then one of her step siblings looked and found her in like 2 minutes. She tracked down her mother, and her mother had her when she was a teenager. Her mother is white, and said, I gave you up for adoption because I was white and you were black and I was in Chicago. And the origin of this movie as a story is Gina trying to imagine what her childhood would have been like had her mother kept her. And everything sort of spirals out of that, and then other themes come in there as well.
Even in that 10 minutes, I didn't know all of that, which is like incredible. But I think just like for me, like, there's that moment, that like scene or that sequence with like trying to find the hair and the talent show that is like so, it's so real and so raw, and you can already feel like, okay, wow, like I'm watching, already a better movie than I thought this was going to be. Like it just, the feel of the camera is like so textured and like cool, and then you're like immediately in that Machine Gun Kelly music video. terrifying.
There's that hard transition.
Masterpiece.
Yes.
There's that hard transition where the first 5 minutes are kind of like delicate and poetic, sad, but like really kind of lived in. And then you get to the talent show. Here's this very, very shy, uncomfortable looking girl. She gets up, she starts singing, she kills it. And then you hear her audio, but they sort of like montage the rest of the talent show, the other acts, which feels like, oh, it's a foregone conclusion. From the moment this girl opens her mouth and she can sing like that, it's very clear, it's undeniable she has the goods. The question is, what happens as a result of that? But she doesn't have to prove herself as a singer. You see the other acts, including this little blonde girl doing her like Shirley Temple routine. And then they come out to give out the awards, and they announce that young Nomi wins runner-up. And you see her like beaming as she gets this trophy. She's so excited.
She's so happy. She won a trophy.
But
and then this is the moment where I'm like, masterful. This movie, we are in a master's hands. Cut straight to Minnie Driver, and Minnie Driver is irate. And then it cuts back to Nomi, and immediately her joy is gone. She feels no sense of accomplishment. She's looking for her mother's pride, and her mother is irate that she didn't win first place. And it's like, the system is fucked. Those judges are fucked. We're going to have to spend the rest of your life fighting this. We're going to make you famous no matter what.
Right.
Then you hard cut to music video. And it feels like in the first 5 minutes we've done like what, and I don't mean this as a backhanded against the other movie, but like the effect of when you cut to Trevante Rhodes at the end of Moonlight and you go like, holy shit, how did that kid end up here? It's that same sort of gap where you go from like incredibly shy, painful young girl to now straight to music video.
Straight to crotch.
Right. And it's like we've cut out the 15 years of her on the conveyor
Ben's
belt.
here.
Yeah,
Ben's
there's
logged
Ben. Arms pumped. Just kidding.
It's another one of these weird... We always get Zoom bombed by people who are trying to Skype into our Zoom. I'm sorry, Ayo, David. Let me just take care of this quick. Let me see who this is. Click. Hello?
Hi.
Hi, I don't... I'm sorry, I don't recognize you. Who are you exactly? We're recording a podcast here.
Sorry, we've actually never met. I just got like your contact from a friend of a friend of a friend. That's just like how it works with like assistants in the biz.
Oh, you're a big time showbiz assistant. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So are you here to give us like some scoops? We're talking about this movie podcast. We talk about a lot of movie stars and stuff. You're here to give me some anonymous scoops. What's going on here?
No, I heard you guys had like a pretty good hookup with some swag. I'm running out of towels. I was wondering if you had any hookups with towels.
I do, yeah. I mean, Brooklyn and has been a sponsor on this podcast for a long time. They're one of our best sponsors, an incredible company. Can I ask, I'm just curious, who do you work for that needs this many towels?
She's pretty popular on the charts right now. I don't want to get into it. It's kind of private, but I need a lot of towels, like so much.
Okay, well,
like can you tell me like where to get like a good like discount on
that?
Because
sure.
I got to do all this like online shopping. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, you probably have heard of Brooklyn before. They're home of the internet's favorite sheets, but the towels are also amazing. So are
they absorbent? Because like I need like a bucket and a mop and a lot of towels is the issue that are very absorbent.
Yeah. No, they're very absorbent. Sure. They're plush. It's perfectly fine to even stay in your towel all day after you shower. Sometimes I'll stay in my towel until I'm ready to shower again. It's called efficiency because they're so absorbent and plush. Who do you work for? I'm just very curious with the context clues here.
Just like a rapper. You don't need to know her name. It's fine.
Okay. So Brooklyn is the perfect place to find all the comforts for home, including ultra soft towels, and they're so confident in their product that everything comes with a lifetime warranty. Now, if you're looking for a deal, I guess, especially if you're buying in bulk, right, you could use promo code CHECK for 10% off your first order at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Promo code CHECK, CHECK. That's Brooklyn. Everything you need to live your most comfortable life, or I guess assist someone else in living their most absorbent life.
Yeah, you said that's 10% off. I just want to make extra sure because, like, what
Sure.
I'm buying hasn't really been working. And like I said, you need a lot of things in bulk. It's just like...
How many
really
towels have you bought so far?
A lot.
Okay. Yeah, no, 10% off. I mean, maybe, I guess if you're buying hundreds or thousands of towels, maybe you can negotiate an additional deal with them. But certainly for our Blank Check listeners, 10% off, promo code check at brooklyn.com. That's going to work for you. Okay, well, have fun with that promo code. Remember to go to brooklyn.com. BROOKLINEN.com.
Great. Thank you.
And tell Cardi B I say hi.
I will.
Ah, gotcha!
This may have been the first time I had seen Minnie Driver in a movie in 10 years.
You didn't see Phantom of the Opera?
That's it. 10
that
years
was the
earlier.
10-year point?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. I don't think like that's how gone she was. Like I guess she had done some TV, right? Like
The Riches.
Well, she did Barney's. Exactly. She did Barney's version.
I never did check out Barney's version of things.
Giamatti, Rosamund Pike. Where's she? She's another. Where's she at?
I do love Rosamund Pike.
I'm less invested, but I've got problems. I'm probably going to start an agency at some point. That's Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Rosamund Pike, and Alden Ehrenreich.
You and I had a long Alden DM about like how has this gotten fucked up?
Yeah, and I think
they all fall into that category. Yeah, but you look at like Hail Caesar, Gone Girl, Beyond the Lights, and you're like, this should be on autopilot now.
Yeah, it's all set up.
It's there. It's right there for the taking. Another immediate thing. You look at the fake music video in this movie, and I go like, I buy this as a real music video.
Yes.
I buy her as a real pop star. Everything has the right scope. I feel like very often things feel like the filmmakers, especially, I feel like when filmmakers make movies about pop music, it often feels condescending.
Well, this is Vox Lux.
Yes.
This is Vox Lux. This is you hate pop music. You don't listen to pop music. You don't respect it. You find it inherently misogynist. And so you're not choosing to respect it or give the women agency.
It feels like you're parodying the thing that's inherently your subject matter. Yes.
And so I think also a thing that's really interesting is like a lot of times you look at these movies and then you look at the consultants and you go, okay, these are people who used to work in this industry. They don't actually work in it anymore.
They pointedly moved out of it.
And because she's incredible, she made sure she got people who actually like were still currently working and very talented. Like it's, like Beyonce's hairdresser and like Rihanna's stylist and like the music, like, Diane Warren is like writing songs and like she's getting like working choreographers doing the choreography. Like she's making sure it's actually people who are engaged in this industry and can make it look and feel as real and wantable and viable, like actual pop and celebrity wants and feels.
And it's also like, as I think you were trying to build up to, Griffin, you got sidetracked, but like this movie was made for $7 million, right? Versus
that's what's insane.
The more robust, probably would imagine it's like 30 million or whatever that Sony probably would have put up for it.
A Rogan.
And like, yeah, exactly.
Rogan. A gentleman's Rogan. That's what you call $30 million. If you're getting $30 million in Hollywood, you're Seth Rogen.
You're in Roganville.
Otherwise, you're getting 7 or you're getting 120. But only Rogan gets exactly 30 for a budget.
If you think hard about, like, if you concentrate on, like, oh, I guess this movie's not using a ton of locations, like, like, then maybe you could see, like, okay, I guess it was made pretty cheap. Like, it does not feel like a essentially indie movie. Like, like
it's crazy.
Right.
It's so
I specifically put my eye on it this time because I forget what episode it was, but on some recent episode, David, we were talking about how expensive it is to make a movie about rich people. That things like mansion rentals and cars and like showing their nightlife and things like that. Like it inherently gets very expensive to make movies about people who live at the upper echelons of society. And this is a movie where like when they go to a award show, when they're at a concert, when they're at a party, I believe it every single time for $7 million. And she's clearly strategically like dressing things and picking her angles and how long she stays in places. But I don't feel that strain ever. It's pretty impressive. And I also just think, as you said, Ayo, like, you believe that this movie has respect for the artistry at every angle of her career, whether or not it is the genre that she respects the most. She's acknowledging, like, there is an artistry to doing a pop star photo shoot and a music video and how you dress for an award show and all these sorts of things. And every choice feels very specific and lived in and accurate. And it also does the thing that I feel like trips me up in so many movies about fictional famous people, where every moment I go, I know exactly what level her career's at. Like, that makes sense. Every piece of context you're given for where she's at, what kind of career she has, how the public views her, it's like all coherent.
So she, to be clear, Noni Jean is about to release her first album.
She's been doing a lot of features. She's been breaking out. This opening sequence we cut from her video to the award show where she's winning her first award.
But she's been collaborating with Kid Culprit. We have to talk about him. Kid Culprit.
We have to talk about him. We have to talk about him, Ben.
No.
Ben, I'm sorry. We have to talk about him.
Fine.
We need to talk about Kid Culprit.
Is this the first movie he was in? This was the first time I remember
is it the first
seeing
movie
him.
he was in? Possibly, yes. I thought you were going to say, is it the first time we discussed him? Because, of course,
No, we
there was
talked about
Roadies. Yes. Which
But
I
I
remember
feel
him
like
being kind of sweet on. Like him
He's
being
really sweet.
It was his first
yeah.
movie. He did like TV things. He was in the classic MTV show that everybody loves, Guy Court, the Guy Code spinoff
Oh, yes.
that everybody
Court
loves
was
and
in session.
remembers.
Yes.
where Danelle Rawlings was the judge?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Guy Court. Here we
Guy
go. Yes.
Court. And he was in an episode of WWE Raw.
Oh, sure. He was in two, actually.
Excuse me.
I genuinely have no idea why he's called Machine Gun Kelly. I will tell you, looking at his Wikipedia page, he's open about his use of cannabis. He cites DMX and Eminem as influences, and he identifies as an anarchist. So those are just some things you should know about Machine Gun Kelly.
I will say I saw Machine Gun Kelly at a protest.
Yes, I think he has been out during the protests recently. Like, he's been putting in the time, right?
Yeah. I saw him standing on things. I mean,
Wow. With his own legs? His own 2 feet?
that's it. His old tall legs.
I don't know if Kid Culprit would be doing that, though. Kid Culprit seems a little more of a corporate creature.
He's more
perhaps, than,
Bieber. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to do country music in 2 years.
Good call.
Yeah, he's about to like hook up with Bubba Sparks.
Guys, he's called Machine Gun Kelly because of his rapid fire delivery. All right.
Of course, like a machine gun.
That's awesome.
God,
Ben.
you needed that
Spits
context.
bars
Okay.
like a machine gun.
Yes. They're
I just want to know,
fast.
like, Kid Culprit, like, where do you think he is now, 6 years later? How's he? So you're saying he's gone full country?
I think he's sober
Yeah.
and has like a girlfriend that he posts a lot of pictures like of him holding her ass on Instagram.
Is he a member of the Hillsong Church?
Yeah, he's Hillsong.
He has his own CBD
Hillsong.
company. Like,
Yeah.
All right. So she's with Kid Culprit. She's winning a Billboard award. I'm sorry. Carry on.
They're,
Like she
they're
goes to her hotel
PR
room.
coupled. Yes.
Yes.
But this
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
the breakneck piece. Like, I would tell people these opening 10 minutes and they'd go like, hey, slow down. Where are we in the film? 90 minutes in? I'm like, no. This is like, you're caught in the cycle of how rapidly her life is moving here. These 5 minutes of just like everything, her having to constantly be on, joking to everyone, even when she gets in the backseat of the car and she's with her entourage, you can tell she's still performing. Like, she's still throwing out one-liners. They get up to the hotel, Nate Parker, security guard outside. She closes the door behind her. Rest of the entourage comes, let us in. He says, no, she just told me not to let anyone in. Minnie Driver goes, I'm her mother, you have to let me in. Door opens. She's been, alone, unattended for 60
10 minutes.
seconds?
Yeah, right. Yeah, not even. Right. Yeah, like a couple minutes. Yeah.
Right. But I think this is key, is like, it's such a small sliver of time when she whispers to him, don't let anyone in. You get the sense that he follows her not just because he's kind of a man of honor, but also because he's pretty starstruck by the fact that she said something to him directly.
I think he's just a serious fucking dude, because that is that character.
Yeah.
He just plays by the rules.
His character at one point says, I'm really into quotes. So you
He's
already
really
know
into
that
quotes.
type of guy is like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a quoteaholic.
That's where I'm like, hey, have you seen Kid Culprit around? I'm going to go when someone says I'm into quotes.
Maybe
Anyway, sorry.
Relitigate Kid Culprit. No, but just such a short period of time.
Wow,
passes.
when Griffin reins David in.
I know, right?
That's it. We flipped. I think we fully flipped.
Yeah, David's off the leash these days.
Yep.
David's buck wild. I know, because David's replying to my tweets now.
I know, like crazy. You were his reply guy. Now he's your reply guy.
No, I love it though. It makes me feel cool.
Yeah, it's fucking rad.
Sorry.
Anyway, great transition. Door opens and she's halfway over the railing about to jump off the balcony of her hotel room. Which is just like such a startling opening of, I feel like very often when public figures have like mental health crises, you know, or like suicide attempts or things like that, the dialogue is always, why are they so depressed? Look at them. They're rich. They're famous. They're successful.
She has everything she wants. Like, well, what could her problem be?
So the cold open is that in a microcosm, right? It's like you're seeing just success. She's center of the storm. Everyone's loving her. She's on the verge of a bigger breakthrough. And yet left unattended for 60 seconds, she's about to throw herself out a window. So the mother and A. Parker rush to her. He comes. He grabs her arm. She says, "You don't see me." He says, "I see you," with the passion of 1,000 suns.
It's a good moment.
Since Avatar. Not since Avatar.
Well, it's kind of Titanic-y too, right? Like, you know, early meet cute when one character is trying to commit suicide and the other character is nobly trying to stop them.
Deeply aided by the fact that they're both like good actors and really very, it doesn't feel cheap.
Yes, and it's the thing Griffin said. The fact that they're not super famous actors, you're like, I just buy that these are these people. You know, like you're not having to sort of think,
they're blank
filter
slates
it through any.
You're not bringing in, right, your own baggage. And I was reading Bilga's review from when this came out because he's always been such a good writer on Gina's movies, and he said this thing that I think is interesting. Yes,
Bilga Edebiri.
Bilga Edebiri.
Bilga Edebiri.
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes my name looks like his name, and his name looks like my name.
Oh, maybe the two of you should swap bylines sometimes and see if anyone notices.
I don't think they would.
Like just swap assignments and see.
Wherever he goes, wow, Bilga's kind of a worse writer.
Iconography with Olivia and Bilga. I don't know. Might be fun.
Think about it.
But he said, like, you know, he looks her in the eye and says, "I see you," but you have to question whether he really does. And it's not that this guy isn't like a very serious, focused man of integrity, but it's just the fact that like she's got so many layers of artifice on top of her right now that you have to question whether anyone could really see her, like what he means when he says that. And I think what he's saying is just, I can see that there's someone underneath all of this. But who that person is kind of imperceptible at this point, other than that he's just seeing the cry for help from whoever's trapped inside of that. And just like the speed at which the media cycle, like within 45 minutes, they're giving public press conference in front of like local news crews trying to spin the story to their advantage, which is she got drunk, she had heels on, she slipped, he's a hero, he saved her. It wasn't a suicide attempt.
She slipped over a railing, over a whatever.
Who hasn't had 5 glasses of champagne, I think she says.
Right, with 5-inch heels on. Like she turns it into a quip.
You know, it's like Kid Culprit says towards the middle of the movie, you use the press, don't let the press use you.
I love quotes. That's such a good quote.
Thank you.
If I can be a little bit of a quote meister over here, when Minnie Driver at the end of the movie says, "It's a game. It's all a game." Like, I feel like that's this movie's attitude on the fame machine is like, if you're trying to do this, every single thing you do is a move in a game. You can never make just sort of independent emotional decisions.
Well, and Minnie Driver, who's great in this movie, as her mom Macy, is also like, to her, fame is, you know, there's a lot of power to it, right? Like, you know, like if she is able to call the shots, that means that she is secure, right? Like that seems to be her general outlook on how to approach everything, which is incredibly aggressive and has turned Noni into a suicidal mess.
Right. Well, she's just like under such immense pressure.
And at the same, and yet I am fairly sympathetic to basically every character in this movie, except maybe Kid Culprit. But whatever. I'm sure Kid Culprit's going to figure it out.
So there's like this immediate whirlwind. I mean, by the time Danny Glover's in like the parking lot talking to Nate Parker, he's like, crazy hour, huh? Like, it's like, this has all moved so fast.
Danny giving me gravel is all I want. Listen, Cass, you're going to have to give this, just anytime he brings out the gravel. I love that voice so much.
I can barely hear him.
You know what this is?
Yeah.
I'm coming down here. Hey.
It's like sub Alec Baldwin. It's like barely even registering.
Right.
Can you understand me? Because I can't understand myself.
But this thing of like, here's Nate Parker and he just seems like this like upstanding cop dude. But then you find out he's got this like very sort of enterprising father who also views his son as being on a longer career track. That he has this sort of pipeline for his son to become a politician. That his father was previously the police commissioner. Is that right?
I don't think he was the commissioner. He's like a captain. He's like some sort of, maybe he was like a figure in the union or something. He's like a lifer in the LAPD, and his son wants to be a politician, and he has every gosh darn biography you could imagine in his house.
I think it's that thing where it's like he's like a lifer and like important in the community, but like mostly is important amongst like the black elite. Hence that like dinner thing.
Yeah, where he's meeting with like the pastors, the community leaders.
He's got like neighborhood. Yes. He's like respected and he's respected in his community.
But he just like doesn't take a moment. Like within an hour of this like incident with Nomi over the balcony, he's in the parking lot of the hotel saying like, we got to strike while the iron's hot. Like this is an opportunity to accelerate your pathway to public office.
He's also called, Nate Parker's character is called Kazam.
Yes.
Okay.
They call him Kaz.
And the reason why is because his parents were into African culture.
They thought it was African. That's the explanation they give.
Is that what was African?
They thought it sounded African.
They thought it sounded African.
Is what he says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
But maybe Shaq is his biological father, right? Like maybe that's why he's named Kazam. It's a little hat tip from mom.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, she doesn't know.
Possible.
She doesn't know if it's Shaq or Sinbad, so she just Kazams it.
Very confused.
She got really confused. Yeah, about parenting. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Very confused. Yeah.
So you're right. He's basically like this happens, and they're like, well, like. No better time. Apparently, some city councilman's getting indicted. They're like, time for you to just nudge right into that spot.
Yeah, and you have, what's her name? Aisha Hines?
Yep. Love her.
Who plays like sort of his strategist. Who like every time anything happens in the movie, she goes like, this is great, actually. We can switch from this angle to this angle. We thought we were positioning you as this, but now you're this. We can slot you in here instead of here. Like everything he does, he's very much someone operating from a very genuine place of what feels right moment to moment. But everyone around him is constantly telling him he's a corny ass dude.
He's a corny guy. Let's be honest. He's a very corny person.
Yes.
Like he became a cop because he wants to like serve the neighborhood.
He's like
he
basic.
Wants to be a politician.
He's like truly basic.
Right. He's like a James Comey, like, I believe I can learn how to be fundamentally correct in every situation.
God. And then when somebody's like, do you want to turn this into this book into a TV show? He's like, okay, I like quotes. So as long as my quotes are in there.
He loves quotes.
But
quotes. Like it shouldn't totally work. And I do, whatever. I'm a little more invested in the Noni side of the movie, but like his basicness is crucial to his appeal, right? Like he's just absolutely refuses to be like interesting in the ways that would bother her, I guess. Like, like Kid Culprit is Kid Culprit is just all bits and all like nonsense. And he's just like extremely no nonsense.
I do think that's like the challenge for actors with Prince Bythewood movies is that she's like an incredibly earnest filmmaker, like
she's very earnest. This is a very earnest movie.
she's cutting, but she doesn't have like a sarcastic bone in her body, at least in her filmmaking. And Bilge's review, he talks about how it's just like, geez, I forgot this was a genre. Like, I forgot these types of movies exist. It's actually just an adult romantic drama.
Right.
And so often that's being cut with something else, or it's for teenagers, or it's Nicholas Sparks, which moves into melodrama or whatever it is. And it takes a lot of confidence as an actor to be able to play these scenes incredibly straight, where you're not like underselling it with jokes because you're worried the audience will laugh at you.
Well, the more...
And it is like...
Sorry, go.
No, what are you going to say?
No, I just think like that commitment is what helps make it better and like feel more grounded. Like when, I don't know, that vulnerability is like clearly there. It just like
totally
it adds, it only adds and doesn't subtract. And it's hard. I just am that now that thing is like reverberating in my head of Alison Brie and the brother. I'm canceled. David.
Elevated romantic
Yes.
comedy.
And it's like
Dave Franco.
Dave Franco.
There you go.
David Franco. But
wow.
Yeah, you know, we're not close. But it's like, yeah, well, I mean, it's not there.
And like have the courage of your convictions to just be like, we're making a romantic comedy. Like anytime I hear someone say this is elevated horror, this is elevated romantic comedy or anything like that, it sounds like you're embarrassed of the genre you've chosen to work in, which makes me think you're going to be like cushioning it with those layers of like ironic detachment or like meta commentary.
Well, it's like Jordan Peele, it's like Get Out, or it's like, no, this wasn't elevated. This is the genre that I like and work in, and there's examples of it, and maybe, you know, there's like a version or versions where it feels cheaper or mass produced or not as engaging, but that's not because of the genre. That's not a problem with the genre. That's a problem with things outside of it.
Right. I feel like he was very consistent with that in marketing the movie, where like before it came out and people were like, so it's kind of a horror comedy because of his background. He was like, no, it's a horror movie. Hopefully some of it is funny. I think comedy is essential to horror movies, but it is not a horror comedy. And then after it came out and it blew up and people were like, oh, so it's like elevated horror? He's like, no, it's a horror movie. I'm glad you like it. It's a horror movie. Like he just kept underlining, don't belittle the genre that I love and chose to work in. And I feel like Gina's like, you know, she makes these very classical old Hollywood movies that are like full of adult emotions and like internal drama and things like that. And she demands of her actors like a real confidence and commitment to that. Now, this is the thing that like we've sort of been talking around that we should acknowledge quickly, which is I hadn't watched this movie since the complete Nate Parker implosion. And because this character is so earnest and is so based around being like the world's most stoic, decent man, I was very worried about whether or not it was going to bump. And I didn't find in my watching that it did. And I feel like a lot of movies we've covered that have like now problematic leads, I feel like it often breaks down into whether those people are primarily actors or movie stars and whether or not you still have the ability to like view them a little objectively. Because like, for example, when we have had to watch Mel Gibson movies for this show, you now just see the latent mania in every single performance.
Yeah, of course.
You know? Like
well, I mean, that was part of his appeal in a weird
Exactly.
It was but people thought of it differently. Right.
The stuff that was bubbling under the surface was always there. And
even
now
in
it's
like
sort of
Tom
like
Cruise
unignorable.
rewatches where he's not obviously like that canceled as far as we know or whatever, but where it's like, okay, now we openly know he's a little off. He's made some choices. And it's like, oh,
he has made some choices.
That's what I'm watching. I'm watching the mind of a man.
Or like watching Kevin Spacey performances where you're like, oh, I guess he toned it down to play this serial killer.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of things. David doesn't like that I said that. He gave me a look that was like, let me consult my inner understanding of libel laws.
True.
But I do think that Nate Parker is very much giving like an actor performance in this. It is not relying on some inherent movie star persona, which means that like for better or worse, I feel like I'm able to watch this and like what you said, in a blank slate kind of way, just really engage with this character.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to invalidate the performance of Gugu Mbatha-Raw. I don't want to invalidate like how good this movie is. Also, like I want to like hold those things true. It's
100%
tricky. I mean, it is also just like that goes to that larger conversation to me of separating the fart and the farter.
I'm with you, Ayo. You got to separate the fart and the farter.
From the fartist.
You gotta.
Yeah.
And I also think there's a difference sometimes between like people who say you got to separate the artist from the art, and the art is about the thing that makes the artist.
Correct.
Sure.
Yeah.
Problematic.
Or the artist is still like very clearly like be having a career.
Right. But yeah, so the movie very quickly goes to there's the scene that's sort of in that like conference room of the hotel after they do the little press conference where she's sort of sizing him up. How are you going to spend your 15?
Yes.
And he's like, what? And she's like, you got 15 minutes of fame. I mean, the hero cop angle, you're going to get laid like crazy. And he doesn't even understand what she's saying to him. The idea of being that calculated about it, even though he already has a team who are trying to weaponize it for a political career. But I think that's when she starts to like recognize, oh, this seems to be one of the first people I've interacted with in a long time who isn't trying to use me in some sort of way.
I think he's also sort of helping with showing how absurd it is that no one else is worried about her.
Yes, right. He has that, like, he brings it up several times where he's like, what, you just want me to read this statement and say that she tripped? And it's like, yeah, she's got an album to worry about. And he's like, 45 minutes ago, she was on the edge of a balcony. Don't you think we should make sure she's okay? But no one else is putting any mind into that. Everyone else is just like, how do we clean up this mess?
But yes, you're right that's like everyone's just like anyway, and he's like, why are you all behaving like she didn't just try and throw herself off a fucking building? Like, this is insane. And she is impressed by that. I guess that's the initial connection. Apart from that, he saw her. Right. She's also kind of insincere immediately. She switches back into this kind of sarcastic mode, right? Like, which is her force field, right? Like, she's sort of already making fun of the ICU thing, like, kind of quickly. And, like, he just is not defensive about anything. Like, that's what's sort of appealing about his character. He's just like, okay, well, all right. I guess he didn't like that. Like, like, I don't know. He's into quotes. Yeah. He doesn't give a shit about her whole thing.
He's a quote.
The man loves quotes.
I will say, I wonder, this is kind of like skipping ahead and around or whatever, but, it's like, he's kind of like the only black person in her inner circle as well. Aside, I mean, she performs at the BET Awards and there's like black execs at meetings and whatever, or helping her, but in her actual like inner circle who she, like who kind of affects her journey otherwise, like he is like one of the first black people. And I think that there is something important about that in terms of, I don't know, just the emotionality of the film and thinking about later when she decides to take off the wig and like actually wear her hair naturally.
Well, that's such a huge moment. That's the best moment.
It's the best movie,
I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
When she says to Minnie Driver, like, you got me a new nose, you got me all this Indian hair, like this idea of having one real solid person in her life. Like her mother's the one person she's had the entire time who has never totally understood her cultural identity and has in fact been trying to sort of repackage it in a different way.
Yeah. I'm just getting frustrated again thinking of the hallmark of a movie star, which is having a line in a movie saying that you got a nose job when that's your actual real beautiful nose, a la Julia Roberts in Notting Hill.
Your nose is so good that it's a believable nose job nose.
That somebody in a movie can write the line, you got me a new nose, and everybody goes, yeah, why not?
Wow, that's a good one.
She should be a movie star. She should be a movie star.
She should be a movie star. You have that first record executive scene where I feel like it's only white executives in that early scene. I mean, there's the guy, what's his name? Neil, the shitbag.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, in the later scene, there's whatever the
head of the label
who is black, but in the first scene he's not there. Yes,
right. So she's
and they're
stuck,
walking all over them,
negotiating
basically.
with the white lower level executives who Minnie Driver is very competitive with. And there's that line I wrote down where they say in front of Nomi's face, "Look, the problem is like she's supposed to be the dream girl. She's supposed to be the woman that every guy wants to be with and every girl wants to be, and suicide isn't sexy."
Yeah.
And it's such a good like encapsulation of this sort of like this sociopathy of the entertainment industry, where you just have to accept people talking to your face about you as if you're a product, like disconnected from your identity as a human being with thoughts and feelings.
Right. They're talking about your public identity, not like whatever you are as a person. They don't care about that.
No.
It's just like, well, now
suicide isn't
this
sexy.
is your thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a problem.
Yeah. It's just such a brutal line, and they cut to Gugu and she just kind of like sits there, and it's just like another thing she's had to hear in her 15 years of these types of meetings.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's a little more personal in terms of like a specific incident they're talking about, but you can tell it's just like, this is the stuff that's like weighing down on her.
Yeah.
So then I think she goes back to see, or no, Nate Parker goes back to see her the next night, tries to get in, can't.
He tries to get in, has to wait outside, but that's when essentially their romantic getaway hour of the movie starts, right? Where they basically just like escape from it all, hit the road and do their own thing.
Yeah. Eat takeout in a car, watch airplanes
She
going
has
overhead.
She has a milkshake.
She has a milkshake.
Right. She has all because there's that scene where Minnie Driver picks up a hotel napkin to take her hash browns off her plate when she's in the hotel. Yeah. So she gets to eat junk food. They look at the planes. I don't know. What do they talk about? Quotations some more, maybe.
He introduces the idea of being afraid of flying.
Yes.
Yes. That's right. I understand. Yes. Kaz
This
Nickel.
is his regular spot where he goes to watch the planes go overhead because he's too afraid to get on one of them himself.
He is more afraid than I am because he has never been on a plane out of fear. Like I will, if I have to, I'll suck it up and I'll get on a plane. Like I hate it, but I'll do it. But he hasn't even tried that out yet. He's still too scared to get on a plane.
I'm trying to decide whether or not to ask you the very personal question that you can probably predict I want to ask you.
What if
scene? No, I'm not asking. I'm not asking if you're a member. I'm asking the scene in this film in which they make love on a private jet as someone with plane anxiety. Do you think that would make you more anxious or more relaxed? In the least graphic way. I'm asking in the abstract.
Griffin, the more you yell, the less chill it feels.
Yes. I will say.
I am being very chill.
YouTube, Griffin, let me answer.
I'm being so chill.
I sometimes watch a YouTube account of some guy who takes the fanciest. No.
Yeah, he watches it nonstop. This guy's a freak. I'm telling you.
He takes like the fanciest planes that right. He's like, I'm going on an A380, and I'm like, I'm going in like ultra first class,
like Top Gear, but planes.
Yeah, I mean it's boring, but I just want to see what it looks like on the plane. And like one of the planes it was Etihad Airways, and like you have like a chair, like a sort of like double chair that you can watch a movie in, and then you can go into your other room where there's a double bed. Like that's the level. It's like a $20,000 ticket or whatever. I could have sex in that thing. There's no way I would feel comfortable and just like go to a bathroom. Like those things are so small.
Capitalism.
Yeah, look at this. Only thing gets him hard is money.
It's just that there's a bed. You got a little space. That's all. Otherwise, I would just be stressed out. Out of
stacks of bills.
That doesn't sound comfortable. It's made out of feathers or whatever.
Sure.
If you really cared about the people, you would fuck in coach class, in public, in the middle of the plane. If you really cared about the people, you would drill a hole on the top of the plane and have sex on it.
Yeah, David.
I've
In the hole,
completely
kind
lost
of.
this.
You're halfway in the hole. And halfway in the plane.
Okay.
But everybody can still see you.
Yes. More,
What is
more
this?
Of this bit.
What do they call the train equivalent?
Oh, like instead of the Mile High Club, it's like the, rail. I don't know.
Well, I'm a member of that.
Why did you
Ben.
just
All right,
volunteer
Ben.
that?
Yeah.
Smiling.
Ben, come on.
Train club.
Nobody's.
Train.
There's no
Oh, it's just
club.
a train club?
There's no club.
You and Thomas?
Why are you singing like it's a club? It's just you.
I feel like there's other train heads out
Don't
there.
see train hits. That's not
Yeah.
right. That's wrong.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
I don't know
not.
what it is, but it's wrong. We gotta go back wherever.
We gotta go back to the movie. So
but
we
yes,
start getting
there-
into montagey territory.
Right.
Right. They go back to her place and she comes on to him and he leaves after one smooch.
Yes. Because he's like, you got to figure out this kid culprit thing,
Right.
which she then does right away. Like, she's like, you're right.
No. They start being together a little bit because they have like the one mini fight about the kid culprit thing where she brings it up to him.
She brings it up. What does she bring up?
She brings it up independently. Like, look, I have to tell you, there's like this thing with kid culprit.
That isn't then?
publicist
Okay,
put
all
it
right.
together. Yeah, it's two separate scenes because then we get into a little montagey stuff of him accompanying her. Danny Glover's like, look, you got to be conscious of your narrative. Do you want to bring this in? It's all a game. What's your move here? What does he say? Like, don't get too into your Wheaties.
Yeah.
But you see him starting to accompany her to stuff, get written up about. She comes outside his precinct one day while he's like bringing in that domestic violence guy. And immediately it's like she's turning it into a PR event. I do like that at this period of the movie, you still have to like kind of question her actions and all these scenes. Yeah, because it's like she's so programmed to look for press opportunities that even like when he brings up to her, I had the National Enquirer and all these different papers offer me this much money for an exclusive. She starts to get defensive and angry at him. And he's like, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do that. I'm just telling you
money, essentially.
it's out there.
Right, yeah.
And then she immediately shifts to, I can tell you're the type of person who wouldn't do that, and then starts kissing him. And in that moment you go like, is she actually, I believe she's attracted to him, but how much of her choosing to kiss him at this exact moment is her trying to make sure he's on her side?
It's hard to like totally root for it, which I think also works in favor of like the arc of their romance, but it is hard to root for it because for me also, I'm just like, oh, there is so much brokenness to her that you know that it's going to be a romantic obstacle for sure.
Yeah.
Because she's just so damaged by the industry and the cycle of affection that she's been taught she's worthy of.
Yeah, it's like she's still chasing the look of her mother approving in the audience that she didn't get at that first talent show.
How does she put it to kid culprit? It's like I can't remember the euphemism she uses now. And I want to find it. Like, where she describes the extent of their romantic life.
Yeah.
It's like it's not kick it though, but it's something kind of cute. Right. We texted, we hit it, and we texted about hitting it. That's how she puts it.
Yeah.
That's the extent of intimacy for her.
And it's also implied that it was like very much a fake press thing that then was consummated but didn't really turn into anything serious. But because they were still being positioned as are they or aren't they kind of couldn't totally break it off. But so many good details as you're getting into all this stuff and like Nate Parker starting to accompany her in all these aspects of her life. Like the little details like her being lubed into those stockings, the weirdness of like her just on her phone checking tweets about people making jokes about her suicide attempt while like one woman just jiggles both of her boobs and another woman is like greasing vinyl onto her legs. The idea of all that stuff just becoming like weird commonplace while you're just being completely like handled. And then that scene where she's doing the photo shoot and the guy very casually tells her to take the jacket off and she gives the look to Minnie Driver and Minnie Driver doesn't even nod but just kind of like stares her down and she takes the jacket off and now it's a topless photo shoot and Nate Parker turns around because he doesn't think it's gentlemanly to look. And a little detail I love that I like just point out is one of the scenes where they're like where she's showing him her lyrics for the first time, her notebooks, and
which is essentially
how, like,
quotes almost
yes,
or quote like
almost. That's why he loves them. They're musical quotes. But they're sitting on the floor of her bedroom and they're just a line of suitcases alongside the wall. And it's such a good detail of just like, oh, right. She's just like constantly probably traveling everywhere, even in her own home. She is perpetually in a state of not having unpacked from the most recent trip or already packed for the next trip, you know? Mm. There were like those little things, even when they're just visual, that just are like, man, Gina's like done the work and actually considered what it's like to be someone on this kind of hamster wheel. Ayo, David, I'm so sorry. I double booked. I used to have I was talking to an online therapist like this time every week, and I tried to break it off with her, but I think she's still calling in to an appointment. Let me just quickly, I'm sorry, this is unprofessional. Let's just keep recording. I'm just going to break things off very quickly. Click! Hello?
Griffey, baby, how we doing?
Hi, Dr. Harleen Quinzel.
Are we feeling better from our last visit? It's been a while. I just thought I'd give you a call and check up. Is this a bad time?
It is. I'm in the middle of recording a podcast, but also I left you several messages saying I didn't want to continue talking to you. I haven't been doing
my
great.
Phone was discontinued.
Great. Not disconnected. Discontinued. It was decommissioned.
They don't make that phone anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
Flip one for a while. I don't remember what brand.
How wacky.
Mention these things.
Sure. Yeah, I did take some of your advice. I took some fish and I put lipstick and makeup on them, and then I walked into a police precinct and tried to slap people in the face. And
it's a good bit.
They didn't find it funny, and I actually think that your advice is not helping very much. So I
mean, you could probably just work on your timing. Like if you did it, did it like I showed you.
Harley, I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't think that's the issue. I know from bits, okay? I'm a little stinker on my own podcast, but I'm looking for actual help here. I'm looking for better help.
Sounding like a little bit sensitive right now. Like, do you want to talk about that?
I'm trying to let you off easy. Our relationship is over, Harley. I'm kicking you to the curb because I have better help now. You have to go off and find some other adventure for you to go on that doesn't involve being my therapist. You can't just be defined by your relationship to me anymore.
Well, it sounds like you're making a breakthrough, which is great, but do you think you're that much better than me? What the hell is this better help thing? You care to explain?
It's not that I think I'm better than you. I think they're better than you, okay? It just feels like BetterHelp can assess my needs and match me with my own licensed professional therapist, not a
license. I don't know where it is.
You told me your license was discontinued. Those are your exact words.
Discontinued. My license is it's buried under a file somewhere. It was in a building that burnt down. The Joker owned it.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I've heard this. I feel like half of every session is you telling me about Mr. J. Listen,
I have a very entertaining life story.
I get it. And that's what I'll do if I want to look for some entertainment. But if I want a therapist, I can start communicating on BetterHelp in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. And there's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas because this service is available for clients worldwide.
Worldwide?
Yeah.
You don't want to come to Gotham anymore?
I don't. It's a bad neighborhood. And I'm trying to stay home. There's a pandemic, Harley. I can log on anytime and send a message to my counselor at BetterHelp. I get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, I can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so I don't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy or have someone who I have ended my relationship with Zoom bombing me in the middle of a podcast record.
Well, you can send me chattering teeth with notes all the time. Is that not efficient for you?
It's not. Listen, BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and feel free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. And BetterHelp wants to help me start living a happier life today. And in fact, they're so generous that they actually want to extend that offer to my podcast listeners.
Oh, you think your listeners actually want to try this instead of me?
Yes, I do think so. Okay. They can visit betterhelp.com/reviews and read testimonials that are posted daily. And then they can go to betterhelp.com/check. That's betterhelp.com/CHECK and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional.
Numbers, 1 million, you can count.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I just want to repeat for everyone, special offer for Blank Check listeners, 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/check. Harley, it's not me, it's you, it's over. It just all looks real. Like, none of it looks like a bad Photoshop, a bad parody. Like, everything she does feels like a legitimate pop career. But then I guess you have I'm trying to think what the big blow up is. She loses the record contract, but that's because of the big award show performance. Mm-hmm. Right. That's when she tries to break it off with Kid Culprit.
Yes. Right. Where he's sort of like, shoving her around on stage, pushing her into his crotch, like things, and she pushes back.
Because she goes to visit him on set, sees of a music video, sees him in his trailer. He's very like, totally, I get it. It's fine. Have fun with Hero Cop. And then at the award show, first the backup dancers try to take her jacket off in what feels like it's supposed to be like a Janet Jackson move. And she strongly holds it back. Minnie Driver's looking on a frustration, but she's like trying to win back her autonomy, not get pressure into doing things she doesn't want to do. Nate Parker's looking on in approval. And then Kid Culprit just becomes a fucking monster on stage. Feels the need to protect what he thinks as his sense of public masculinity by not making it look like he was dropped for the hero cop.
Right.
Yes. Now, there's a director's cut on the Blu-ray that is a difference of 15 seconds long. And much like Love and Basketball, it sounds like it was literally a matter of 15 seconds between this movie being PG-13 and R. I watched the director's cut this time. I could not identify the differences, but looking up interviews with her, it sounds like it is that scene just going a little bit further, the plane scene going a little further. It's a similar thing where like Love and Basketball was apparently this close to being R without it having nudity, without it being incredibly graphic. But she just likes to push for a level of detail in these things that tends to make the MPAA skittish. So she said that was like the big fighting point for them, was that scene, that she wanted that scene to be genuinely upsetting, and they had to go through several rounds of cutting to still make it past as PG-13. That being said, the R version I watched, not a huge difference in my eyes.
15
but
seconds.
So after that, right, Nate Parker comes on stage, he punches Kid Culprit out, and once again, like, the narrative is out of their control. And the record label flips, and they're like, we're dropping the album. We can't sustain this. You're done.
Yeah, that's when they go on their big romantic getaway. They go to,
Parker takes her away. He recognizes that she just needs to fucking get out of this, like, biodome.
She gets her hair, she cuts her, her weave off, and she sings Carrie. I mean, this is the best part of the movie, right? Am I crazy? Like, this is the most arresting part of the whole movie.
And also, as someone who like knew so little going into the movie, this is where I start to get really excited about like, oh, this is where it's going. Like, this movie is going to be about not just some bodyguard-esque romance, but about the process of this woman stripping away everything that has been built on top of her towards a pop career.
I remember a theater gasping when she cuts her hair.
Yeah.
Like that actually got an audible reaction from our theater.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously a thing that speaks to my white guy ignorance. But in that moment when she goes to the mirror and she's starting to look at her hair up close and then gets out like the knife, it was the first time I recognized like, oh, of course, that isn't her real hair. I just didn't even consider it until that point.
Wow. Talk about colorblind. Get it?
I know.
Because her hair's
I know.
purple, so.
Yeah. No, but it was like it was part of the gasp for me is just like, oh, right. I'm in a position where I just wasn't even thinking about that, but it is such as a powerful visual.
I can't laugh. It's like that's how funny it is to me. I can't laugh. It's like decades of black women being like, don't ask about our hair, and you doing it to the point where you're like, yeah, if a black woman wants to grow purple straight hair out of her head, yeah, I believe her. I
went too far in the opposite direction.
Yeah. He just total ignorance on Griffin's part.
If a woman shows you her hair, believe her.
Right, that's just something that happens.
Well, that to Griffin is the strength and resilience of black women, that if they make up in their mind that they want to grow purple straight hair out of their heads, they can do that.
I think black women can do anything. I want to make that very clear.
Well, that's sort of the problem, right? That's a little bit too far.
Absolutely, a huge issue. It's a huge issue with me.
And,
Yes.
Oh, boy.
I can grow purple straight hair out of my head. I just don't want to. I want to make that very clear.
I believe that.
I know you do.
I fundamentally believe that.
You should.
I don't question that for a second.
Ayo, what do you think of this whole sojourn? Come on, the karaoke, all this stuff.
I love the stupid trip. I just love the dumb little stupid trip because it you can just see the relief on her. The beach scene is so perfect. The sweet little
bartering
beach
for
scene.
the merit badge.
Where'd they get that dog?
Right.
I'm so happy they got that dog on the beach with them. That little dog running around on the beach with them. How'd they get that dog on the beach? It's a private plane.
Especially in lockdown, does anything seem more appetizing than someone just being like, I packed your bag, come with me, we're going on vacation.
We're going to the beach. We're simply
Pretty
going.
nice.
We're getting away from everything.
Yeah, it's just it's so great. And it's the cutting of the hair is fantastic and so well done.
And that's the kind of detail that, most people working in Hollywood would not even think to bring into the movie.
Yeah.
Right? That is
you can
something
say
I'm
it.
sure.
Say it, David, that I would not think to bring into the
Fine.
movie.
If Griffin
Yeah,
had written and
it's
directed
about
Beyond
you.
the Lights, he probably, he would instead have a scene where she explains that she grew her purple hair naturally.
Yes.
And
Yes,
she's
it would have been a
crying.
long scene.
And she's sobbing.
Right.
I
And all
don't
the
know
studio
where these
chiefs.
powers come from.
All the studio chiefs would be like, yeah, that's a great scene. That makes sense.
That's really
They'd
good
all
and
be
true.
green lighting it.
to black women.
Absolutely.
I think
Right.
also the karaoke is adorable because they look like stupid tourists, and I love
And he's bad at it.
Yes.
In a cute way.
I love her actually being in disguise. I think about the trope a lot of black people, if a black woman had to do an alias. There's a sketch that I truly love that's in an SNL packet of Yore, that is if a black person had to do an alias and nobody believing them, because if I just
you
put
mean
on a blonde,
alias
if I just
the hit
if
show
I was
Alias.
a spy, yeah. Oh, sorry, me saying it like a verb
Right, sure,
that doesn't really,
right.
I guess, sure. But if I just had to put on a red wig, everybody would know it was me just with a red wig on. I wouldn't be a completely different person.
I would believe that you had done it.
I know that
of
you
your own
would. It's not a
volition,
you
that
thing.
would
It's not
willed
a
it
you
into
thing,
existence.
Griffin. I know that you
I'm
would
just
do
saying
it.
maybe they should be a new pass of that script in which I come in as a very strong ally who believes in anything.
I don't know who you are. And even if I did, I wouldn't say who you are. I wouldn't identify you.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. Bye now. Happy vacation. I mean.
Yeah, just write me into a quick 5 pages of that sketch.
But her going on with out in the street and just out and about with her little pups is so
Yes.
stinking cute. And then the karaoke scene echoing the beginning where it's just you are gifted, you are talented. When you strip everything
back to the
down
basics.
and you are just the artist who you're allowed to be, you are so good at this thing.
Why are you doing this in the first place? You love singing. And there's literally the echo. At one point in the song, when she's singing Blackbird a cappella, they drop in an echo of the child actress singing Blackbird from the opening.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the rare movies where someone goes viral because, they were filmed candidly, right?
Yeah.
Where that makes sense and fits very nicely into the plot.
Yes,
Usually
unlike
it's exactly.
I'm sorry,
Exactly.
retired bit.
Oh God.
Oh boy. But yes, because when she comes back from this vacation, she is now famous again. Like the narrative has shifted again, and now it's like she's authentic. We love it. We love how authentic she is.
But once again, another thing where you go like, I believe that people who did not know who she was would still record this performance because it was this good. And I believe if it went online, people would identify her and it would genuinely go viral.
Yes.
Like both sides of it make sense. You have that small moment when the couple comes up to her and asks her for the photo and she like tenses up and agrees and then realizes they want her to hold the camera.
Right. That's really nice.
Really subtle.
It's like,
moment too.
Just like, I like that when this happens, like, it's not like in an easy movie, then it's like, okay, well, now that she's proven herself in this new way, she gets to do whatever she wants. And it's sort of like this sort of like side version of that where Minnie Driver is like, great, now that she had this authentic moment, I get to use that as leverage to get what I want, what I think we need, right? You know what I mean? Like,
it's so heartbreaking. Yeah.
Right.
Because Bilga in his review said like I keep on quoting Bilga, but his review is really good for this movie. But like that Minnie Driver is just playing such a raw nerve that it's scary because you don't understand what she's going to react to and how.
Right.
And that scene, you just get like totally like hook, line, and sinker sold on the idea that now she has taken this as a learning moment. She lost her daughter. She's getting her back. She's going to fight for what her daughter wants. And then the reveal of like, no, she's just being really petty. She hates this guy, Neil. Yep. She feels like he big dogged her in a meeting. And now she just wants him to get fired for her own ego.
But they have that conversation when Minnie Driver like comes to get her that feels very authentic, right? That where she's talking about being a mom and like her family disowning her, right? You know, like, and then... Yeah. But then the second scene, the argument that they have where she's like, well, I just, I wanted to get rid of Neil. Like, she feels authentic there, too. Yeah. It's just a different kind of whatever, like that's another side of her personality that has, as we know, it's always been there.
Gina Prince Bythewood, I think, doing that cool thing of like taking what is like a stereotype and like laying these very human, real things and allowing their relationship and the things in the history and the complicated entanglements and like entwinements that they have because of just these years of like mutual damage in their relationships, allowing it to play in a moment that feels really real and not cheap and not like total stereotypical like sociopathy or whatever.
Have you watched Old Guard yet?
I have watched Old Guard.
I love Old Guard, and I feel like everything you just said applies to that movie as well. Because as you said, it's like classic Gina. It speaks to her whole canon, but that same thing of like, on its face, haven't I seen this movie 20 times before? And it's like, no, the investment in the history between these characters and finding ways to very quietly indicate the history without explaining or over-explaining is like her whole mastery.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, to lay out the crux of the argument is... the album that they previously were going to shelve, which has been printed, and now they're back on to wanting to release because she's gone viral. Nomi wants to pull it so that they can add new tracks. She wants to do a Blackbird cover. She wants to do her original songs. And it's this argument over whether or not they can incur the cost of that, which Minnie Driver has the upper hand because shitty Neil had erroneously sent her a fax saying that the contract was terminated. But you get back to that scene with the two of them in the kitchen where it feels like they're both sort of stripped down to how they were when she was very young, before they got in the career path. They're talking about Minnie Driver making mom's famous blank, how every food that she would make for her as a child, she would call mom's famous. And it's like this very sweet, tender scene where you're seeing this very different dynamic from her. And you really feel like, oh, that's done. They've solved their relationship. She solved her career, how to be like a genuine, sort of honest artist. Everything's good now. And then Minnie Driver just like flips over her hand and is like, no, I mean, we can't swallow the cost. The album's there.
She's like, we'll do that later.
Tomorrow. Right. Yeah. You'll be honest later. I just want to fuck with Neil. It's so good.
But I respect it. I get Minnie Driver, even though I don't like her in that moment.
Everyone has their reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's wild to fire your mom, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is so wild.
That does feel like a fun thing as a celeb, though, right? Like if you were like a kid celeb. Like the day when it comes where you're like, hey, guess what? I'm allowed to fire you.
But that thing, I feel like you see that with a lot of stage parents where Minnie Driver is like, I'm the career here. You're just the person who sings. Like, because she's been like seeing big picture from the time that she was a child.
Right.
She thinks that like she's the star of the enterprise.
I watched the documentary Showbiz Kids, I think is the name of it.
The Alex Winter thing.
One of the things that was really interesting, there were a few people who just were like, you feel this weird sort of indebtedness to your parents, and you're both an adult and a child in it. Like, you're both like the boss and completely infantilized because you're your parents' boss, but also they're your manager. And then you have to constantly have in the back of your mind that they sacrificed a lot for you to be where you are. Like, they sacrificed a ton. And obviously, I know what that's like because of my tenure on Home Improvement.
Of course.
Where I was one of the sons on Home Improvement.
You played Zachary Ty Bryant on Home Improvement.
Yes, and I think I did a really good job.
Excellent. You disappeared into the role.
Yeah, well, I'm my method. But yeah, I mean, it's tricky. It's weird.
There's a Jason Bateman's inside the actor studio, and I feel like Jason Bateman is like very like, I'm in control. I know exactly what I'm saying all the time. It's like the one time he gets a little touchy when James Lipton asks him about, because I think that was a case where like for both of the Batemans, their parents gave up their jobs and became like acting coaches.
So scary.
And for both of them, it came out in the press that like they were taking a cut of the salaries that their children earn to pay themselves as acting coaches for their children.
Jesus Lord.
And Lipton asked Bateman about that, I think, like, assuming it would be like a Macaulay Culkin type thing, where he'd be like, well, I had a bad relationship with my father and I've worked to mend it since. And Bateman's very weird about it, where he's like, well, it's like a weird situation because, like, I mean, sort of what you're saying, Ayo, but he was like, you know, like my parents didn't have a job. Like, we started making money as kids and they had to give up everything in their lives and uproot it to build everything around us being successful, which we were the ones making the money, which is a weird dynamic. But also he wasn't doing anything else other than following me everywhere. So he needs to get paid somehow for something. And then he sort of like goes like, let's talk about dodgeball.
Right.
But I do think that's why the Minnie Driver character is still somewhat sympathetic. I mean, A, she's not written as being a villain, but B, I think you get the sense that the movie has in mind all of those dynamics in the big picture, even if it's not stated that directly. I mean, she says all the stuff about, like, it was just the two of us against the world. We were in this together. I had to figure out something. You understand that it's not coming from a place of being some monstrous
Jealous
villain.
necessarily, or... Yeah, totally.
Right.
Parasitic or destructive or whatever.
Yeah.
So then after it all gets figured out, I don't know, like we cut to her at a festival months later, like,
well, yes, no, that's
liberated.
at the beginning of that scene before she fires Minnie Driver. She tells her, we got this offer to do this festival. They want you to end with Blackbird. Like the big exciting news of they're specifically asking you to do what you want to do. So yeah, then it pretty much cuts straight to that, where she's going to do her first kind of like honest end of Josie and the Pussycats. If you like what you hear, that's great. If not, that's okay too. So I'm just casually quoting the most important moment in the history of American cinema. But Nate Parker shows up backstage. There was the scene where she goes to see him at his home.
Yeah.
And he, you know, she said like, it was a pretty great moment we had. And he said, like, yeah, it was pretty perfect, right? And he says, it was based on a lie. It could never be perfect if it was based on a lie. Which is pretty cutting. But then he shows up backstage at this concert and he says, I love you. In a very casual way as she's going up the stairs. Not like it's some big end of movie proclamation. He just goes, I love you and I'm not going to take it back this time. Unlike the time he accidentally said it prematurely while fucking her on a plane.
Whoops.
We've all done it.
Happens to the best of us except Ben, who that happens to on a train. Yes.
It's a train situation for Ben. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Absolutely.
The train club.
Oh, boy.
And that's a moment where I genuinely swooned in theaters. And then she goes on stage and she sings Her Truth, her original song, which is pretty good. I do think, like, for all the other factors we're talking about, why this movie didn't connect at the time, and seeing it now in a post Star is Born reality, and I love this movie infinitely more than Star is Born.
Yes. I don't know about that.
I did watching it this time go, man, what if this final song was even like 1/10 of a Shallows?
Yeah, the music is the one place this movie falls a little short for me. The music's
most
fine.
of it's not supposed to be very good.
Well, it's okay. So I know that I was forgetting names when I was like naming collaborators earlier, and one is The Dream produced a lot of the songs. I think the songs that are like digestible pop songs, which is like that's what The Dream does really well.
Yes,
are really
are
good.
all good.
And then I think the other things that maybe The Dream doesn't do as well, and maybe his solo work can attest to that. Sorry if there are any The Dream fans who listen to this pod, but I think that also attests to like maybe the quality being not.
I think
as
so.
good.
It's yes, I agree with your assessment outright. Blackbird's obviously a good song. When she's covering Blackbird, that works. When it's supposed to be her commercial pop stuff, that stuff works. I think the song at the end of the movie just works enough. But
It's fine, but I wish
it was
it
transcendent.
ruled. Yes,
right. That's the thing.
Yes.
You want the Shallows octave change moment, which you don't get, and the finale works because Gugu's selling it. And the movie's built up to it properly. But it is the one thing now looking at it where I'm like, if this movie had an undeniable song at the end, it might have been enough to get more people to see it.
I think it is like hard also where it's like, oh, you were very clearly tied to like, here's the script, here's what we have. It's like, we love the ideas of like Blackbird and Flight. And like, if it was...
You have to invoke these 12 words.
And if it was just like, you could just make a banger.
Right.
That might have been a bit of an easier challenge, maybe.
Once again, the song is just good enough for the movie to work.
Fine. Yeah.
You're getting all the themes.
But you wish it was a banger. Yeah, you wish it were a banger. Yeah. The Oscar nomination this movie got was for the song that Rita Ora sings.
Yeah, the credits song, Grateful.
Right.
Which was written by Diane Warren and is pretty good. I don't know.
And then Rita Ora started claiming that she was an Academy Award nominee. And Diane Warren was like,
no, you're not.
Check the document.
Yeah, I feel bad for Rita Ora because she's really annoying. I don't think it's her fault.
No.
If I can say that.
Who won best?
This was Selma.
I did.
Oh, Glory. That's when Chris Pine cried.
Ayo won best song. She shared it with Common, John Legend.
I won best song for a short that I was in with a few members of my UCB 201 class. We all got along.
Of course.
And
I forgot about that. Surprise win.
One of them wrote a short, and I was in it, and we won for that.
Yeah. And a very deserved win.
A huge win. Congratulations.
I'm a good singer, and music is my medium, essentially.
Of course.
This is fodder for my
like
music
trains
career.
are Ben's medium.
Okay. And so we all have our medium.
Yeah,
and if the question was, have you fucked in music? Have you fucked in a song? Yeah. Have you ever leapt into a song and had sex? I would say, yeah, absolutely, twice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
The box office game.
I'm demanding that we play the box office game for November 14th, 2014. This movie, unfortunately, opened number 4. It will open on 1,700 screens, which was a weird sort of like, half wide opening. Like Relativity was the studio. They didn't handle it very well.
In terms of this movie not getting a good release, this was Relativity, who had been producing films for other studios. Their like 18-month run of we're a distribution company. We release films on our own. Yeah. Almost all of them bombed horribly. Yeah. And then within a year of this movie coming out, Ryan Kavanaugh was engulfed in like 20 lawsuits, and everything had collapsed.
But it opened to 6 million. But number 1, Griffin and Ayo and Ben.
What was the final total? Did it make 20 or did it end up making?
I don't think so. Let's see. It made 15? 14 domestic. Boy. A couple black hats.
I think 2 black hats. Maybe.
Yeah. Number 1 is a long-awaited, I suppose, sequel comedy sequel, opening number 1, $36 million. Fun fact, the director of this film, his next film, won Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yep.
What a bizarre series of things to be true.
Open to
Dumb and Dumber
36.
2, open to 36.
That's pretty good.
In fact, just an appetizer for a Best Picture winner.
It's all really scary.
Yeah, that's the thing. People were like very excited, and they were like, "Wait, this might be a return to form for Farrelly, for Carrie." And then it opened big, and everyone was like, "Nah, we're good." And it didn't even make 100, did it?
No, I think it made like 85. It did fine.
Yeah.
No one was mad, but kind of whatever.
But the joke is that 2 is spelled T-O because they are dumb
and dumber.
And dumber. Yep,
and they're both. They have range. They have range.
Number 2 is an animated film. It's been out for 2 weeks. It's made $110 million.
Big Hero 6?
That's right, my friends.
Nailed it.
Well done.
Ayo
The one that everyone forgets.
Zoom.
I loved Big Hero 6 when it came out.
It's got Scott as it. He's a big old balloon.
Big BMO, not BMO. Big balloon.
Baymax.
Baymax.
Baymax. There you go.
Yeah. Good
BMO
guy.
is Adventure Time.
Yes.
All right. Big Hero 6. Don't really remember it that well.
No. Big Brother
Yeah.
and
Okay.
BMO.
Number 3 is the best movie of the decade.
No.
Do you know what it is?
I do.
And you disagree with this opinion?
Most people do.
It's Interstellar?
It's Interstellar.
That's right.
Which is a
Hell yeah.
fine movie.
Now, to be
Oh
be
my
fair,
God,
David,
disgusting.
you ended up ranking it as your number 2. You had called it
believe
the
I
best
did.
movie of the decade for years, and then in a split-second decision, you gave the edge to Social Network.
I do like that Social Network. There's a lot of good movies out there,
I
guys.
think out of space movies, Interstellar is leagues ahead of Gravity.
Yes,
Agreed.
undoubtedly.
Because I will say, I'm a sociopath. I watch both on planes.
Nice.
And Interstellar holds up on a plane, whereas Gravity does
Yes,
not.
yes, it does.
Definitely.
I've watched Interstellar on a plane many times. One of my calm down movies.
That's weird.
All right, number 5 at the box office.
Yeah.
One of the
He's
I'm a weird guy.
I'm telling you, he's dang ass
Yeah, you're a random guy. You're random and weird as hell. I'll say that about you.
Number 5 at the box office. One of the great movies of this year. They just don't make
2014
them
was
like
a
this
good year.
anymore.
I was looking at my 10 from that
great
year. Good
Great
year.
year.
They don't make them like this
based
anymore.
on a
What
book,
genre?
Gone Girl.
thriller. There you go.
Gone Girl.
I was good at this.
I was really bad last time, though. Olivia was faster than me, I felt.
You're nailing it this
I'm
time.
really nervous.
You're
Thank
nailing
you.
it. Gone Girl.
Which
You know what's great?
loved.
Gone
Yeah,
Girl.
great movie.
Great movie.
I know. This is the thing. I was looking at my 10 and I was like, I think Gone Girl was 11. That speaks to a good year.
Yeah, you should rewatch Gone Girl. Get it up there.
Maybe I should, but it was a good 10. I had a good 10.
It's a good 10. I know. It's a great year. And yet Birdman won Best Picture. Anyway,
I know, what a
some other movies.
garbage movie.
Some
Saint
things we don't
Vincent.
have to talk about. You feel me?
Yeah, no, St. Vincent, Fury, Nightcrawler's in there, Birdman is
St.
in
Vincent is cantankerous Bill Murray takes after Melissa McCarthy's son. A very deserved Best Supporting Actress nomination for Naomi Watts as a Russian exotic dancer. Very deserved nomination.
there. She didn't get that nomination.
Nightcrawler. I'll say I wanted more for Nightcrawler.
Yep, Nightcrawler.
Good.
I wanted more
I
for
love-
Rene Russo.
Rene Russo, Riz Ahmed, Jake Gyllenhaal, all 3 should have gotten acting nominations that year.
Everyone was so good in that.
So good. So
What
good.
the hell? What the hell's a girl got to do to get some retroactive Oscars going? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I thought Renee was going to get the nomination that year. It felt like she was on the track.
I thought the same. You know me, I'm freaking running this for your consideration campaign, working my ass off in these streets.
People don't know that every single year you have self-financed a Renee Russo for her consideration campaign, just for whatever her biggest role was that
I work
year.
hard. I'm not gonna act like I don't.
And so far, she's played Frigga, Thor's mom, 3 times, and has gotten 3 non-nominations.
This is true.
Rude.
And you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to combat
I'm
that.
in debt to
Anyway.
people individually in a way that is really, really worrisome. guys. Not good. And if anybody wants to loan me anywhere from $50,000 to $700,000, I would really appreciate it. I really would, guys, for real.
So is that what you want to plug this week?
Yeah, I'm pretty much broke as hell, and Oscar's coming up. I gotta get started on Renee's campaign. So if anybody wants to
gotta start
wiretap me some money, I've been banned from Venmo. Wiretaps only. My routing number is I'll plug my freaking podcast with my best friend Olivia Craighead.
It's a great
one of the best podcasts out there. Top tier.
Yeah, please listen to it so I can keep hanging out with Olivia. I love her so much. And, she's just like doing a lot of great things with her life. She's really in demand. So I need her to hang out with me, talk to her, get a Zoom call. If you guys listen, review, say you like our friendship. Say that you really think that we should still keep being friends. That would be really helpful for me and Olivia as well. I plug my stinking little podcast. Iconography.
Great podcast.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you both were guests.
We both were guests.
Yes.
We each came on to talk about our number one male crush, respectively.
Yep.
And it's great conversation.
I don't even have to say, if you've listened to one episode of this podcast before, you can guess who I picked and who David picked.
Yep. Okay. Everyone went quiet.
Vin Diesel and Colin Farrell.
Rene Russo and Jake Gyllenhaal and Riz Ahmed.
I was letting people answer, and then I was giving them the official ruling. I was leaving the space for people to answer.
We've had a great time.
It's hot.
Yes, it's time to call it.
We gotta go.
It's hot
Bye.
and hungry.
Kidding.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I hope I did
Thanks
okay.
for coming on the show.
You did amazing. And
As
the Weed
always.
Whacker never showed up again.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, he respects the audio art form. What can I say?
We thought we were going to have a problem with the Weed Whacker across the street making all sorts of noise, but the second he heard the word Gugu, he quieted down.
He knew.
He paid respect.
You have to. She
You have
deserves
to.
it.
We have no choice but to stand.
I made a wish.
You made a wish? Wish and Ben strikes again.
It's a new nickname, Wishful Ben.
Well,
All right,
That's
guys.
a great place to end.
okay.
Yes.
Call it, Griff.
You and Griffin say I love you to each other.
Love you, Griff. I tell him that all the time.
I love you, David.
Okay, and now both say it to Ben.
Love you, Ben.
I love you, Ben.
I love you guys.
And I love me.
I'll say this, Ayo. I appreciate you pushing us. People should know full transparency. I end most interactions I have with Ben and David with "I love you."
Yeah.
And
true.
some very cute. When I say "I love you" to Ben, he says "I love you, kid."
Aww.
He says "I love you, kid."
Damn, I love male
Love you, kid.
friendship. Okay, the theme of today's episode is actually male friendship. And that's what I decided.
And above all else, that should be your number one takeaway from Beyond the Lights.
It's about male friendship.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Andrew Guda for
And
co-producing
do it
the
with
show.
love.
Rachel Jacobs for editing help. Do it with love. Show some love on
keep thanking people. I
blankies.com/Reddit.
interrupted you. Oh, well, I interrupted
Joe
you again.
Bowen, Pat Reynolds for our work. Lane Montgomery for our theme song. Show him some love. Tell him you love him. And tune in next week for The Old Guard, a movie which I've already spoiled, I think, honks. But that will conclude our little Gina Prince Blythewood miniseries. And as
For now.
always, for now.
Yeah.
For now. When she makes a new movie, we'll come back to her.
Hell yes.
And as always, I believe that black women
Oh, Christ.
can magically make their hair
Oh, Christ.
any
Oh,
single
boy. All right, cut
color
it. Just
they
end it
want.
wherever. You just gotta end
had
it.
to
You don't
triple
even have
down.
to let that one finish.
Had to triple
Oh,
down.
boy.
Had to triple down.
Bye.
Griffin.
David.
Ayo.
Ben.
You wish, Ben. Just kidding.
I do wish. I wish all the time.
He wishes constantly. It's
That's
embarrassing.
that's his best personality trait.
Stars,
wishful Ben.
fountains.
Oh my
name
God,
it.
wait a second. That's a new nickname. Ben.
What, the wisher?
The Wishful Ben.
I'm sorry, but it's
No.
but
Thank
it's
you.
True.
It's true. Wishful Ben. Okay, we're going to put this at the end of the episode as a bonus. So people get the reveal later of the new nickname.